Yo, 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 what is going on? Thank y'all for tuning in to another Daily Fitness live stream show. Yes, sir. Let's turn it up a little bit. We are good to go. Yes, we are. Is my mic on? My mic is on. Okay, we're good, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. It is Monday. Yes, sir. We are in the fourth quarter, September, October. Yeah, we're just about in the fourth quarter of the year, and we are getting this live stream going, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. And just let you know, we are simultaneously streaming on Twitch, on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and Rumble. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor when you see that thumbs up, hit the thumbs up button and help me get the algorithm out. It's greatly appreciated. Yes, sir. Wait, did you see the thumbs up? Did it pop up? Did it work? There it goes. We'll do it again just in case I didn't see it the first time. Yes, sir. And yes, and also want to contribute to today's show. There's the Cash App, Daniel2888, Venmo, Daniel-00. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I almost forgot my own Venmo. I'm tripping. What's going on? And hopefully everybody's having a good day today. And if you are not having a good day, let Mr. Child break it down to you.
Oh, you're having a bad day? Did you die?
I got shot.
But did you die?
Yes, and as long as you are still alive and didn't get unalive, you are here to stay and make a better day for yourself because ain't nothing else to do but get better. That's right. With that being said, we're going to jump into today's show. We got some interesting topics here for you today. First topic is we're going to go into the fitness portion of the show. We're going to look at a video that's going to explain if you are too weak or if you are just simply too fat. You know what I mean? We're going to take a look and see how your body actually operates and what's going on and just see if you have a weakness or if you're just actually too fat and which one that you need to tackle first in order to get better health going for yourself. Because a lot of the times your body, if you get too fat, you know, your body doesn't have any like muscle on it if you don't do any kind of workout or exercises. So, you know, a lot of the times people wonder if they lose weight, well, you know, things help. First thing they jump on is cardio and trying to lose the weight, but you should lift some weights and gain some muscle. So therefore you could help burn off the muscle, or excuse me, the fat with the muscle, even though when you're not working out. So keep that in mind. We're going to take a look at that here in the fitness segment of the show. Is pretty interesting. Remember, if you're are you too fat or are you too weak? We're going to check that out for sure. It's going to be interesting. So take a look. Then after that, we got the economy portion of the show. The economy portion of the show, we're going to look into the 2025 layoffs. And I mean, there's been a hell of a lot of them, like too many. And then we're going to look into the economy. What happens when capitalism no longer works? Yeah, we're going to see what happens when capitalism no longer works because that's the way things seem like they're headed in, unfortunately. Then last but not least, we're going to jump into the AI segment of the show. We were supposed to do this segment last week, but I couldn't get to it. But we're going to go into AI stoic versus hedonist. And we're going to see exactly what the AI says about being a stoic versus being a hedonist and how it works out for the greater of society or the detriment of society. So we're going to check that out and see how that works out. And hopefully everything turns good or it may turn bad. But with that being said, we're not going to waste no more time. We're going to dive right into the show. So let me go ahead and get my fitness banner put up on the show. There that is right there. We're going to get our sexy redhead Latina, our muscle-bound Latina lady to get up in here and start the intro.
Let's get ready for the fitness segment of the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There she is. Yes, sir. So we're going to get this show started for sure. And let's go ahead and jump into the first video. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let me get this one put up on the screen. This is from What I've Learned. This guy's a very great content creator or YouTuber, I would say. And he does some really good videos. I've watched him for years now. And so I'm really happy to have him on the show to go ahead and go over one of his videos. So with that being said, we're going to see what's going on if you are too fat or if you're too weak. I'm going to help you figure out which one is better for you to do. If you can figure out what's hindering you if you're trying to lose weight, gain muscle, or if you're up in age, you know, you want to be lifting weights because, you know, your bones and your muscles get, you know, more brittle and stuff like that. So you want to keep strength on you at all times. Strength is very important. But let's go ahead and let this man get us into this video and yeah, let's get it.
People's problem isn't having too much fat, but too little muscle.
All of my sickest patients had one thing in common. They all had unhealthy muscle.
Actually, why don't fat people have a lot of muscle? After all, isn't carrying around all that extra weight like lifting weights all day?
Their muscles are extraordinarily atrophied. When you look at the lumbar extensor muscles, what should be about the size of the barrel of a baseball bat is as small as this magic marker.
Obesity at its core is a disease of the muscle.
But what is baseline health? In this video, we'll break down why baseline health makes it hard to get fat, why you need more muscle and more protein to achieve baseline health, and why athletes and bodybuilders probably think low-carb diets are stupid.
Cut up potatoes,
90 grams of oats,
60 grams grits.
So why do we need more muscle for baseline health? Being healthy is mostly about just having low body fat, right? Let's take a look at what Dr. Peter Attia calls baseline health.
If you have even the mildest interest in being healthy, you can't be insulin resistant. If you are insulin resistant, you're not going to be healthy.
Insulin resistance is basically the very early stages of diabetes. Insulin resistance in a nutshell means that the body has trouble processing carbohydrate. You need insulin to process carbohydrate, so if you're resistant to insulin's effect, you're bad at processing carbohydrate. Research has shown that usually the less muscle mass a person has, the worse their body is at handling carbohydrate.
And carbs, I know they say carbs are the enemy, but they are the enemy if you don't know how to utilize them. Keep that in mind. Carbs are what I usually take before I go to the gym and work out. I'm big on oatmeal before I hit the gym. It's filling. It doesn't take much, just 1 cup oatmeal, and you throw whatever you want to throw in there to give it the flavoring that you desire, and smash on that 1 cup of oatmeal. Get you a pre-workout in with some creatine, and then bam, you're ready to go. And if you got some supplements you want to add in there with it, do it. And hit the gym. You're full, you're good to go. You got carbs. Carbs are going to turn into sugar, but you're going to be using that as energy and fuel for your workout. So you're going to burn through it. So you're good to go. So you're using the carbs as opposed to just eating carbs and just sitting on them and then just letting it turn into fat, and you'll screw you up over time. So always remember, carbs can be the enemy if you don't use the enemy. Think of it like that. But if you eat carbs and then, me personally, go into a workout and just and when you go work out, go hard in the weight room. Don't sit there and just kind of go through the motions. Push yourself, strain, make some bitter beer faces, get ugly up in there. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do to make it work. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless, and you won't really burn off as much energy as you are supposed to, because you're not, putting in no effort. But let's get it.
A 2011 study found that for every 10% increase in muscle mass, insulin resistance reduces by 11%, and prevalence of diabetes reduces by 12%. A 2014 paper explains that reduced muscle mass and strength is commonly associated with many chronic diseases, including obesity and insulin resistance. This is likely one of the reasons why athletes and bodybuilders may think low-carb dieting is kind of stupid. They eat plenty of carbs and likely need plenty of carbs, but they are fantastic at processing carbohydrate thanks in part to all their muscle. To break this down simply, when you eat carbohydrate, it is broken down into glucose. Insulin takes glucose out of the bloodstream and puts it into various cells, so you don't have super high blood sugar or high blood glucose just from eating a croissant. However, muscle is well known to be the key glucose sink that absorbs most of the glucose. The more muscle you have, the more excess glucose the body can use or get rid of. The muscle can either burn the glucose for energy or store it. The muscle can store a lot of glucose, and the liver can store a little bit. When the liver is full of stored glucose and there's more glucose than the muscle can handle, that excess glucose gets turned into fat in the liver, and that fat gets stored in the fat tissue. If this process happens so much that you fill up all your fat cells, that fat made in the liver eventually gets stuck in the liver and lodged in the muscle as well. Interestingly, your muscle will actually start to look like a cut of Wagyu beef with that tasty fat marbling. While delicious,
Now, my opinion personally, this is the reason why I usually fast. And me personally, I'm not big into intermittent fasting. I would actually just do a fast, go on a 24 to 48 hour dry fast, no water, no food, no nothing, because then your body needs to kind of go back, and all that stuff that you put in it over time, your body needs to go in and repair itself. So whenever you don't have anything in your body to use as fuel, or anything in you, your body's going to go against itself. Whenever you fast, your body's going to turn in and where are we going to get energy from? Where are we going to get some kind of fuel source from? Well, what it's going to do is it's going to go to your fat cells. It's going to pull from that and use your fat cells as fuel, as energy. So, whenever you eat too much over a period of time, or you're on a bulk or doing things of that nature, not even just working out or as a weight loss thing, just in general, Every once in a while, you need to fast. Just give your body a break and let it repair itself. Let it go in and go eat the stuff that it needs to destroy within yourself. That's just, to me, that's extremely important, because people never give their body a break. We eat every single day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Give your body a break. Give your body a moment to repair itself. Let it go in and destroy the bad stuff that's within you. Take that moment to yourself and let your body heal. And trust me, it works wonders. It's a great thing to do, my humble opinion.
Indicates that you are becoming insulin resistant. Again, a key feature of insulin resistance is that you become worse at processing glucose. So in essence, because muscle can dispose of glucose, it is shielding you from the issues of excess glucose. You can either deal with carbohydrate by focusing on having plenty of muscle, or you can just not eat carbohydrate. When you have less muscle, it becomes harder to get rid of excess glucose and insulin resistance worsens. More muscle allows you to dispose of the excess glucose in your blood.
And when we eat a meal, about 80% of the energy that's ingested in that meal is distributed to the muscle.
Did you hear what he said right there? I'll let him say it one more time. This is the purpose of working out, lifting weights, and putting on muscle, and especially keeping this regimen going on as you go through life. And keep in mind, this guy he's showing right here, this is C-Bum, this is Chris Bumstead. This dude's on juice, he's on steroids. So I kind of like, he's showing you people who are on steroids, but I'm speaking to you from somebody who doesn't take steroids. But listen to what he says right here to show you the important factor of always strength training and lifting weights as you go on with life is extremely important. Listen to this.
Focusing on having plenty of muscle, or you can just not eat carbohydrate. When you have less muscle, it becomes harder to get rid of excess glucose and insulin resistance worsens. More muscle allows you to dispose of the excess glucose in your blood.
And when we eat a meal,
exactly, more muscle helps you get rid of the excess glucose in your blood. So whenever you're lifting weights, you go hard and you lift weights hard, even after your workout, your body's still going to be, using whatever it has, its energy sources to fuel and feed the muscles. So always stay on top of strength training and weightlifting all the way as you go up in age. Even if you don't lift as heavy as you used to, because as we get older, naturally, we just don't go as hard and we don't lift as heavy. But just keep your bones and your muscles strong, because your muscles are what move your bones. Without muscle, you won't be able to move your bones. So it's very important to always do some kind of strength training, working out. Cardio is good and all, but too much cardio diminishes the muscle.
about 80% of the energy that's ingested in that meal is distributed.
And when I say too much cardio diminishes the muscle, what I'm saying is they go hand in hand. Like strength training and cardio go hand in hand. Don't do one over the other.
To the muscle. When muscle begins to fail, or when we develop problems with our muscle, it's not surprising then that we develop a range of diseases associated with that.
Okay, but just because you have tons of muscle doesn't mean you can eat an infinite amount. Take a look at sumo wrestlers. Despite their massively muscled legs, they are still really fat and at very high risk of diabetes. You can't just eat up to 7,000 calories a day without overloading the system, even though you're training for hours and building up those massive leg muscles. Of course, these giant athletes would be far worse off without all that muscle. It's commonly found that less muscle means higher risk for diabetes. It's observed that there is a tendency for the average person to start slowly losing muscle after age 30. This is called sarcopenia. And studies say we need to prevent this sarcopenia to help prevent insulin resistance and diabetes. Here's the catch-22. Muscle is good for preventing insulin resistance, but of course losing weight and reducing excess body fat should improve insulin resistance. But calorie-restricted weight loss diets can cause you to lose muscle. So, how can we preserve our muscle mass? Lucky for us, a super easy, low-effort way to maintain more muscle mass is to just eat more protein. This study did an analysis of 105 different studies to understand the effect of a wide range of dietary protein intake's effect on muscle mass. They were looking at doses anywhere from 0.5 grams to 3.5 grams of protein.
And to simplify it with what he's saying, always remember this. Whenever you're done working out, you don't have to have a huge carb intake after your workouts. Me personally, I mean, everybody's body's different. You got to kind of figure out what works best for you. But from my personal opinion, after your workout, you don't have to carb it up too much. You know what I mean? You at that time, that's when you want to protein it up. You want to, eat high on protein. It's because that's what's going to repair the muscles, So carbing it up too much after workout, I kind of feel like, at that point, your body's still going to use the carbs because it's still, after like strength training, it's still burning energy. So it still needs some kind of fuel source. But going leaning more towards protein throughout the rest of your day after you do after you do a workout seems like the better avenue to go to, because you've already, you know, put the strain on the body and you already used the carbs. So then when you go out after your workout, you can lessen the carbs and up the protein and just repair your body with, you know, a good source of protein to, you know, keep your body fueled, and not even fueled, but keep your body and your muscles repaired, because now you just strained your body, so now it needs something to repair the muscles, and that's what protein does.
Protein per kilogram of body weight per day. This study found that the more protein people ate, the more muscle mass they had. And even as little as an extra 0.1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight added to their diet helped people preserve muscle mass and potentially even increase the muscle mass. The people eating under 1.3 grams per kilogram of protein a day stood to benefit the most by increasing their protein intake. If people ate more than 1.3 grams per kilogram per day, they still got benefits, they just weren't as pronounced. Unsurprisingly, adding resistance training along with the protein offered the most benefit to the muscle. So, being a sedentary couch potato is definitely not a good idea. But what this study suggests is that even in people not exercising, the more protein people ate, the better for their muscle.
In 20 years of medical practice, I have never once looked at a patient and said, you're eating too much protein. It's really not even a thing.
Conventional diet advice doesn't focus too much on building up muscle or even...
And that actually makes a lot of sense if you think about what he just said there, because with the food that we get, like all the processed food, majority of the time the processed food that we get is carb heavy. So when you look at how he's explaining this, it actually makes sense. You know what I mean? It really does make a lot of sense, because processed food, if it's carb heavy, what is it gonna end up doing? One, it's gonna make you fat if you eat too much carbs. It's going to turn into sugar, and then you're going to be a high chance at a diabetes. And then who do you have to go to, or who do you go to whenever you are at risk of diabetes or have diabetes? You go to the health company. You go to Big Pharma, and then they turn around and they give you, you know, they drugs and, you know, hit you with whatever you need to take care of you, but, you know, they can't cure you, so they give you a treatment, and now you're hooked from the processed foods. Now you're on over to, you know, diabetes, and now you need insulin, or you're just, you know, big and fat, and now you have a freaking eating disorder where you, well, not eating disorder, well, you have a problem with eating too much, and the cycle just continues. It's just vicious over and over and over and over and over again. So if you were to have more of a healthy protein diet, or eat more protein period, and not so much processed stuff that carries a lot of carbs with it, a lot of that stuff will be eliminated. Because think about everywhere you go, majority of the stuff that you eat is going to be carb heavy, sugar's going to be added to it, stuff like that. So if you look at the big picture of things, it makes sense as to why he said what he said. I've never ever said to anybody you eat too much protein. You can always say you eat too much carbs, because carbs turn into sugar. With protein, it works for building your muscle. So there's that.
And making sure to eat plenty of protein to at least prevent your muscles from breaking down. We're told to reduce calories to lose weight, but what are we supposed to eat? The food pyramid left the impression that we should have about twice as many servings of bread, cereal, and rice, then high-quality protein sources like meat, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy. Okay, but now we have the updated My Plate, but it still tells us to eat more grains and fruit than protein. Again, there's a simple way to eat to preserve more muscle mass when you're cutting calories to lose weight. Eat more protein. Increased protein intake allows for greater muscle mass preservation when consumed during periods of negative energy balance. As we discussed in my last video, the great thing about protein is that it will make it easier to stay in a caloric deficit because it's so satiating.
If you have a high protein meal, we know from brain imaging as well as hormones, that if you have a high protein meal, you have more satiation.
She's fat.
We already considered obesity as a cause.
No, I mean, what if it's not a cause? What if it's a symptom?
The interesting thing about insulin resistance is that research suggests that the cause of insulin resistance is not necessarily obesity itself, but having no place to put excess calories that is the problem. What does that mean? Well, take a look at Japan. They have 10 times less the obesity of the United States. However, they don't have 10 times less the diabetes of the United States. They still have half the diabetes rate of America. Why? Well, as Dr. Ted Naiman explains in this presentation of his, evidence suggests that we have something called a personal fat threshold. The way this works is, once you fill up all your fat cells with fat, fat starts to get lodged in your muscle, your liver, and around your organs, and you become more and more insulin resistant. So basically, insulin resistance is the result of your body running out of space to put your excess calories. Of course, if you lose body fat, you'll free up more space to put excess calories and you'll become less insulin resistant. Check this out. Researchers tried transplanting a new pouch of fat into highly insulin resistant rats and connected it to their blood supply. This extra space to put calories reversed their insulin resistance. The weird thing is that there is a small number of people that can actually make new fat cells. This means they can keep making space for excess calories and can get way fatter without becoming insulin resistant. So personal fat threshold is basically how fat you can get, how much space you have to put calories before you start getting insulin resistant and sick. This is where the term TOFI comes from, or thin on the outside, fat on the inside.
I am confident about...
So our body has like a fat meter, basically. But then again, what about those super morbidly obese people that don't have no diabetes then? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it adds up, right? I don't know. Let's see.
About the way I look, because I'm fairly thin for my height. So I think I'm healthier than other people who are the same age.
But most doctors would say otherwise.
People may appear thin, but because their personal fat threshold is so low, they can barely put any fat into their fat cells before the fat spills over and starts clogging up the liver, muscle, and organs with fat.
Your insulin resistance.
Okay, that makes sense because, I mean, look at this dude. Where is he? Come here, person. Look at him. He's like, I'm thin. It's like, yeah, bro, but you have no muscle on your body whatsoever. You know, you skinny fat. You know, it probably has like a little mini gut. He doesn't have any muscle whatsoever. It would be different if he worked out. He doesn't work out. He's just a doctor who, well, I don't know who he is, but I'm just assuming he's a doctor that goes to work. And if you've ever worked in a hospital like I have, they eat like complete shit. They don't eat good at all. So therefore, you know, they with a poor diet, or even if he has a healthy diet, he still doesn't exercise or work out. You know what I mean? And we don't know in Japan, I would assume that their diet is pretty carb heavy, but the portions are a lot smaller. So they don't like really get too far over on calories. But with him, you know, even though he's thin, like they said, you're thin on the outside, but you're fat on the inside because you don't have any muscle. You don't work out. You don't strength train. And that's very, very important. Let's continue.
Fat spills over and starts clogging up the liver, muscle, and organs with fat.
You're insulin resistant because you filled up all your adipocytes. You have no more room for fat flux. Every time you eat a meal, it has nowhere to go.
Mr. Kim was recently diagnosed with central obesity, which is an excessive amount of internal fat around the organs.
Carbohydrate comes into play here because, as Dr. Nemian explains, consuming more carbohydrate than your body can handle makes it much more difficult to burn all this fat.
And glucose and fat are oxidized reciprocally. So anytime you're burning more glucose, you're burning less fat, and more fat, you're burning less glucose. You filled up your fat cells with fat because you suck at burning fat because you eat too much glucose.
That is the biochemical...
So if you... How did he say that? I gotta list them again.
Burning less glucose. So anytime you're burning more glucose, you're burning less fat, and more fat, you're burning less glucose.
Okay, so with that statement being said right there, that kind of goes in line with if you have more fat, you're burning less glucose. That means that you have too much fat. Then two things you would do. One, you would lift weights and strength train first, or... Yeah, I would always lift weights and gain muscle first. That's what I would do. I would always lift weights and gain muscle first. If I was fat, I would lift weights and gain muscle first. Easier said than done, right? And then after like a little bit of strength training for a while, fast. Go on a fast. Fast for like 2 to 3 days. 48 to 72 hour water fast. And just let your body just, go in and attack itself and eat off all of the extra that it has. You know what I mean? And then continue again. Go back. Lift weights. Strength train. Keep lifting. Use the weights to, help lower the glucose. And then whenever you just get through fasting, focus on your diet being predominantly majority protein with a little bit of carbs only before you work out, and just keep that cycle going on over and over and over and over. After you work out for a few weeks, fast. Again, water fast and for about 48 to 72 hours, and then just let your body eat itself. Let it destroy all the fat cells and all the bad blood cells and stuff like that. And I believe that'll be a good way to, you know, get back at to like get in shape. And while you're doing that, whenever you're fasting, because of course nobody wants to work out when they're fasting, you can still strength train, but either do a really low weight and high reps, or just do a lot of walking. Get a bunch of steps in, do a whole lot of walking. Mix it with two or whatever, but you are going to feel weaker. You will feel weak. So just be careful when you do that part. But that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
You filled up your fat cells with fat because you suck at burning fat because you eat too much glucose.
That is, the biochemical process that enables you to burn the fat is actually hindered by burning carbohydrate.
Glucose goes into the mitochondria, and when you dump in a bunch of extra glucose, fat actually physically cannot enter your mitochondria to be burned.
The research is pretty straightforward. The more your body burns carbs, the less it burns fat.
If you could take two people in this room, and whoever burning more glucose and less fat at baseline will literally be significantly fatter 3 years down the road. That's what this study was.
You can understand whether someone is burning carbs or fat because they will have a lower respiratory quotient if they're burning fat, but a higher respiratory quotient if they're burning carbs. But again, saying we need to eat less carbohydrates so we can burn more fat may sound stupid to athletes, bodybuilders, and gym rats because exercise in itself will burn up the glucose stored in muscle, so this allows the body to handle more carbohydrate. Having more muscle means you can handle more carbohydrate. And athletes and physically active people tend to have a lower respiratory quotient, meaning their body is typically burning more fat than carbs. So even while physically active people may eat a ton of carbs, their bodies are still great at burning fat because all that muscle and exercise keeps them very insulin sensitive.
Just remember, like I said, he's showing people on gear and on juice. So, you know, take that part with a grain of salt, but he's not wrong.
So they're very good at processing carbohydrate. Insulin resistance starts in the muscle. The muscle is your first line of defense. And as this 2019 review in the journal Nutrients explains, not eating enough protein is an easy way to break down your muscle. On a practical note, Dr. Gabrielle Lyons says that to trigger protein synthesis, you at the very least need to eat 3 meals with at least 30 grams of high quality protein, or 2 meals with at least 50 grams of high quality protein. She says that in total, you want at least 1.2 grams to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight every day. Also, you need to be aware of that protein quality. In general, animal source proteins are better digested and have more of the essential amino acids than plant proteins. In specific, Dr. Lane Norton explains that you need to go to greater lengths to get enough of that key muscle protein synthesis stimulating amino acid leucine if you are relying on plant sources of protein.
Plant sources of protein tend to be lower in branched amino acids, they tend to be lower in essential amino acids, and tend to be lower in leucine.
Despite what I said earlier about protein being good for muscle, I'm definitely not saying you can just sit on the couch all day long, eat steaks, and expect to wake up looking like a Belgian blue bull. Protein will help you preserve muscle, but you of course need resistance training for healthy muscle as well. As Dr. Stuart Phillips explained in a presentation of his, to build up muscle, you want to increase muscle protein synthesis and you want to suppress muscle protein breakdown. Eating protein is what triggers this muscle accumulation state where muscle protein synthesis is greater than muscle protein breakdown. So prioritizing protein in your diet will hinder this muscle breakdown to a degree. As you'd expect, you'd have much more of this muscle synthesis when you add resistance exercise to your protein-filled routine. Speaking of exercise, I prefer not to use any particular pre-workout or caffeine before or during my workouts. I just make sure to get plenty of salt and electrolytes to keep my performance up throughout the workout. That's where this video's sponsor, Element, comes in.
Okay, so he's just saying that because he's got a sponsor, but shout out to him. That's at the end of the video, so we gotta give him a round of applause to that, man. What I've learned. So yeah, that's actually a good take. He put a good take on it. He made a lot of sense with it, and it's really not a complicated process once you sit down and understand it. Once you understand your macros and stuff like that, which is very simple to get. It's not a hard process to grasp. It's just once you see how much portions actually are and what it takes to actually keep your body looking fit, looking right, looking tight, and the workouts that you got to do, they go hand in hand with each other. And you know, You could fall off of it. Like once you get to where you want to be, you can like fall off and like kind of like get a little bit like fatter, but you still got the muscle underneath you. You just cut back on your carbs, up your protein, and keep your portions a certain size. You'll be good to go. You'll be good. You'll cut back down because you're not having so much carbs in your body. You're not overeating, eating a bunch of crap like pizzas and burgers and stuff like that. But just be careful. Don't let people fool you who talk about this stuff. Because a lot of the times, like I said, the people he was showing, a lot of them people were on steroids. They were on juice. So I mean, that's kind of like a cheat code because, you know, your body's going to put that muscle on whenever you incorporate the workout and the eating with it. I mean, it does still require work. You're not just going to take steroids and sit on the couch and start morphing with big, bulky muscles. It doesn't work like that. But just the people that he showed were on juice. But what he said was true. And I would always say, if you're somebody who's like really obese or something like that, not even just obese. In general, everybody should incorporate fasting, my humble opinion. 24 or 48 hour fast, incorporate that into your body. Give your body a break from eating. Give your digestive system a break from eating. You know, always drinking and swallowing and eating and all that stuff. Your intestines, your everything, your bladder, your liver, everything's always working and churning and working and churning. Give it a minute. Give it a day off. Give it 2 days off. Let it do what it does, and then once it tries to find fuel, it's gonna go to your fat, and it's gonna take away from your fat. So just relax and enjoy the aesthetics that you'll get because you want to be able to, you know, see what is underneath all the fat that you have, and fasting is a good way to get you to that level. And I mean, it's one of the most healthiest things you can do. You really won't regret it. It is tough. It's tough to do, especially if you got kids, because you know if you cook for your kids or whatever, you know, you don't want to like make some food and like lick the spoon, and then you're just like, I just ate something. So keep that in mind. Fasting is really good. It's a very hidden gem that a lot of people probably don't utilize. But you know they link it to starvation. But fasting and starving are two different things. Fasting and starving are two different things. They're not the same. Starving is not the same as fasting, but that's a conversation for another day. But with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and that's gonna be the fitness portion of the show. Let's go ahead and slide on the fitness portion of the show. We're going to go ahead and jump into the economy portion of the show. We're going to sit down and take a look at what is going on in these job markets and also take a look at what life would be like without capitalism. But before we do, we got to get our sexy ladies to come in here and give us an intro for the show.
Welcome to the economy segment of the show. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. She has welcomed and blessed us. Yeah, buddy. So with that being said, we're going to dive into the economy portion of the show. Let me change the banner here before we do so I don't look crazy. All right, so in the economy portion of the show, we're going to go ahead and look at the 2025. Well, not 2025. First we're going to look at the sales force. All right, so recently the sales force took a lot of, they did a lot of job cuts. Not a lot, but enough. And we're going to look at the job cuts that they did, and we're going to see why. So breaking NBC news. We're going to pull this up on the screen for you right here. Bam. Let me change that banner. And what we have right here, it says breaking news. Salesforce CEO confirms 4,000 job cuts because I need less heads with a freaking eye. Bruh. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick. I'm going to read this to you real fast. Make sure you can see it on your screen. All right, you can see it. All right, cool. So Salesforce has to cut 4,000 of its customer support roles. CEO Mark Benioff recently said while discussing how AI has helped reduce the company headcount, Benioff revealed the cuts during an interview published Friday on the Logan Bartlett show. I've reduced it from 9,000 heads to about 5,000 because I need less heads, he said, while discussing the impact of AI on Salesforce operation. All right, so Salesforce confirms 4,000 layoffs by AI. It needs fewer people. Salesforce has been the front line of the AI revolution and has built what is called Agent Force of customer service bots. Because of the benefits and efficiencies of Agent Force, we've seen the number of support cases we handle decline. We no longer need to actively backfill support engineer roles, Salesforce said in a statement. The job cuts come after Benioff over the summer announced AI is doing up to 50% of the work at Salesforce, which is based in San Francisco. All right, so you see that right there, Salesforce. I don't know what Salesforce is. It says right here, it says, what did it say, Salesforce? Salesforce has been in the front line of the AI revolution and has built what is called an agent force of customer service bots. So I don't know what they are. We'll have to look them up and see exactly what do they, you know what, let me look them up. What does Salesforce do? Let's see. Salesforce, what does Salesforce do? What does Salesforce do? There we go, it came up. Salesforce provides is this correct? It offers tools. What does Salesforce do? Salesforce company, just in case it doesn't give me the right thing. All right, here we go. Salesforce provides a cloud-based customer relationship management platform that helps business managers and improve their relationship with customers by centralizing customer data, automating sales and marketing process, and offer tools for customer service, e-commerce, analytics, and application development, all integrated on a single platform with AI-driven insight. All right, so I guess that's what Salesforce is. Yeah, I guess that's what Salesforce is. Yeah, I would assume. Oh, here we go. Salesforce Inc. No, yeah, that's what it is. It's an American cloud-based software company that's in San Francisco. It provides application focused on sales, customer service, marketing automation, e-commerce, analytics, AI, and application development. Okay, yeah, so yeah, they basically dibber-dabber in the stuff. So it was only a matter of time, if this is what they dibber-dabber in, that they were going to fire people using the stuff that's related to AI. Cool. So there's that. So Salesforce, the company, has laid off 4,000 people and just don't see the need to have these people no more because AI is doing a job. Now, let's take it a step further. We're going to take it a step further. We have a article right here from September 1st, 2025. We're going to take a look at this, and this one is from Intelligence, if that's how you say it. Let me go ahead and pull this up on your screen and make it a little bit smaller. That's what she said. All right, so companies that announced major layoffs and hiring freezes. So September 1st, 2025. So we're going to go right here. Let's see. So we got jobs cuts, hiring freeze, downsizing, layoffs. All right, so we're going to take a look at what we have. So since January 1st, 2025, 3,140 plus companies have announced mass layoffs. All right, so this was last updated August 19th. So we got the layoff tracker. So 2025 to recent layoffs of the week. So we start with over 200 Bank of Queensland jobs to be lost to outsourcing. Mobile Premier League to cut off 60% of jobs after government ban on real money games. 500 plus jobs at Voice of America. 40% cut to Lotus, which is the UK workforce. And we have Ford may cut about 9% or 940 jobs at a South African plant. Okay, cool. So recent government layoffs 2025. So in quarter one, the U.S. workforce experienced significant disruption. So let's see the disruption. So leading companies that announced layoffs 2025 are these. We got UPS, Dell, Nissan, Intel, Microsoft, and they got the numbers below them. So UPS 20,000, Dell 12,000, Nissan 11,000, Intel 10,000, Microsoft 9,000, HBC 8,300, Chevron 8,000, DHL 8,000, BP 7,700, Audi 7,500. Major layoffs and hiring freezes in 2025. Paramount, number of employees to be laid off 3,000. So Paramount is now giving them some layoffs as well. Kroger, number of employees to be laid off 1,000. Industry retail. Verily, number of employees to be laid off. They don't have any right now. So right now, Verily, people are doing okay. Lotus, they got 550 people to be laid off. That's an automobile company. CSL, they got 12,000 to be laid off. That is a biotechnology company. International Paper Co., 1,100 to be laid off. It's a manufacturing company. Detson, 3,400 to be laid off. And that is a media and entertainment company. Norsk Hydro, so 750 to be laid off. That's mining. Centricare, 750 to be laid off. That's healthcare. Tata Consultancy Series, 12,000 to be laid off. That's technology. Man, so this can go on and 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 go on. I mean, you got Santander UK, 2,000 to be laid off. That's financial. We got Duke University laying off 24,000. Jesus. Bosch 1100, Global Liberty Global 800, Jaguar Land Rover 500, Sepultura or Serpenta. Oh Lord, I messed that up. 500 to be laid off. Alaskan Airline 252 to be laid off. Indeed, and Glassdoor is laying off 1,300. Wow. Portland General Electric 300. Microsoft 9,000. Clark slashes 1,200 roles amid pre-tax loss as a revenue fell by nearly 100 million pounds in the latest financial year. Jesus. Allianz is 650 to be let go. Intel 10,000. That's technology. So you get the point here. I could do this all day. I could just sit here and just go down the list of all these people. As you can see, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, I don't even know when I'm going to hit the bottom. Just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Look at this. This is crazy. Wow. Porsche. The Dow. That should tell you everything that you need to know, because look at all these businesses. I'm still going. Still going. All these businesses have laid off, which is crazy. Crazy work. Crazy, crazy, crazy work. So as we can see, a lot of stuff is going on. These layoffs are no joke at all whatsoever. However, we're going to take a look and see what happens when capitalism doesn't need workers anymore. So since we're seeing all these mass layoffs, we're going to go ahead and take a look in and see what happens when capitalism doesn't need workers. And we're going to see how life changes, how life will, or well, not would, how life will change in the future, because we're seeing the capitalism shift, because AI is going to be coming in and doing a lot of these roles and things like that. Yeah, people will still be needed, but not nowhere near as much. And if they've done these layoffs, then the layoffs are going to continue to happen as the years go on, because AI is going to get better and it's going to need less and less and less and less people. More people are just going to get laid off. So we're going to see that going on over and over and over again. So with that being said, we're going to take a look at this video here that's going to talk about capitalism when it doesn't work anymore. So let's go ahead and get this video started, and we're going to interject when we need it, and let's get it going. Here we go.
Has some level of anxiety over what our AI future will look like. Somewhere between Skynet and a post-scarcity utopia, the most immediate concern for most people is that this technology will end up doing their job better than they can. So far, one side of the argument points out that big new technologies in the past have only ever made economies wealthier, and whatever jobs they replace, they end up making more, better jobs somewhere else. The other side argues that, yeah, sure, when we replaced our muscles with machinery in the past, it let us leverage our minds, which are clearly what humans have invested most of our evolutionary traits into. But if machines replace that, what else do we have left to offer? Now, nobody can predict the future, least of all economists. But we don't really need to, because there are certain economies that are going to see the widespread impacts of these changes well before most others. In fact, they kind of already are. In places like the Philippines and Bangladesh, the threat of AI is much more imminent. A threat to jobs, to entire industries, and to the economic growth they've spent decades building. These economies have spent the last 30 years constructing entire industries around outsourced service work. Things like call centres, data entry, transcription, and basic software support. These jobs were once considered safe from automation because they required language skills, context, and that special human touch that machines just couldn't replace. Well, it turns out machines got a lot better at replicating that human touch. Tools like LLMs can now handle those tasks in seconds at a fraction of the cost, and these jobs, which make up a big share of GDP in many developing countries, are looking like they might be the first dominoes to fall. In the Philippines, the IMF estimates that a staggering 89% of outsourced service jobs are at high risk of being automated by AI. That's over 1 million people whose jobs could disappear.
That's a huge number. Where is that? It estimates that 89% of the BPO workforce is at high risk of automations as consumers and clients demand better service and explore cost-saving measures. Wow. Yikes. Oh my God. What is BPO though? Maybe I should pay attention more. What is BPO? BPO. What does that stand for? BPO. AI, LDR. All right, BPO. I didn't see it. Maybe somebody else saw it. BPO. I don't know what BPO stands for. But still, 89%, that's a huge ass number. So to see that going on, that's going to be brutal. And it's crazy because it says consumers and clients demand better services. I mean, I don't know if they're telling the truth or lying on that. They could be. But, you know, you're going to be in for a rude awakening if people are actually saying this. If people are actually saying that they want better service, like, you're gonna be really upset. I mean, have you ever got on the phone and had to deal with a automated person on some kind of customer service line? One of the most frustrating things known to man. I'll tell you that right now. Now, and explore cost saving measures. That right there, that's the company talking. The company is actually exploring cost-saving measures. The company is saying this. I think they're making this part up. Consumers and clients demand better services. I think they're making that part up just to kind of make this part sound better, because in reality, that's what they want to do is have a better ROI and, you know, lower the overhead. But let's continue.
Service jobs are at high risk of being automated by AI. That's over 1 million people whose jobs could disappear in just a few years. In other words, AI is already making the world's richest countries even richer, and it's making it harder for everybody else to catch up. And that's just the beginning of the story. Even in rich countries, AI is starting to divide the economy into those who can leverage it and those who are going to get replaced by it. The US Bureau of Labor Statistics predicts that roles like cashiers, bank tellers, postal staff, and customer service representatives are all on track to shrink. One estimate suggests 7.1 million jobs could disappear in the next 5 years, with up to 47% of current roles at risk of being replaced by AI. Jobs could disappear in the...
So, all right, so what is this? AI is causing massive unemployment. So it illustrates, this is 2020, within the next 5 years. So here's my question. Okay, cool. So here's my question. Yang, so this is 2020. Illustrates that from data published by BCG Ali Research Institute within the next 5 years. So technically speaking, if I'm reading this correctly, we are at this 5-year mark, because this was in 2020 and we're at 2025. So we're at this 5-year mark of 7.1 million jobs will disappear due to populative AI. 702 occupations and 47% of jobs may be replaced by artificial. So we're here at that time now. So this was already in the works back in, I mean, this was already known to happen back in 2020. And this is when the pandemic was going on. So, you know, this was already known. This is already known. This ain't no hidden fact. These people for sure know what they're doing. So just keep this in mind as we continue on with this video. Here we go.
In the next 5 years, with up to 47% of current roles at risk of being replaced by AI. Of course, it's also worth remembering that companies and their investors have now plowed trillions of dollars into developing this technology, so they want to eventually see a return. As heartless as it is, cutting millions of workers off payroll is probably the most immediate way to start seeing those returns. So there is an incentive to play up the scare campaign, because what sounds horrifying to most people sounds like opportunity to those actually writing the checks. But even still, the trend lines are clear. AI is already reshaping who gets ahead, who falls behind, and most importantly, how fast the gap is widening. So, as always, we've got some important questions to answer. Why is AI supercharging growth in rich countries while simultaneously threatening the economic survival of others? In a world where one person armed with AI can replace 5 people, what exactly happens to the other 4? And perhaps most importantly, can workers or even entire economies adapt fast enough to survive the shift?
Those are 3 profound questions. Whew, those questions there are great questions to be asked. Man, oh man. Why is AR supercharging growth in rich countries while simultaneously threatening the economic survival of others? That's a good question. In a world where one person armed with AI can replace 5 people, what happens to the other 4? And we just watched a video last week where a guy said that. I need to actually post that on my YouTube shorts, so keep a lookout for that. And then this one right here, can workers even entire economies adapt fast enough to survive the shift? Ooh, boy, that's gonna be brutal. Yes. Gotta prepare, man. Don't be scared. Be prepared. Make a move, bust a move. Bust a move and make something happen.
If you follow this channel, you already know that long-term investing is one of the smartest ways to grow wealth, and that consistency matters.
Thank you for the follow, Akuni. I appreciate it.
Matters more than timing. That's why this video is brought to you by Trading 212. Practice a term gain, a 5.4% boost. According to the Center for Economic Policy Research, the US could see a 5.4% boost to GDP over the next decade thanks to AI-driven productivity gain.
All right, real quick, crash course, GDP. So GDP is going to grow as the implementation of AI proceeds to happen. What is GDP, you ask? I'm glad you asked. Here we go. So, gross domestic product. GDP is a monetary measure of the total market value of all the final goods and services produced and rendered in a specific time period by a country or countries. GDP is often used to measure the economic activity of a country or region. The major components of GDP are consumption, government spending, net exports, minus imports, and investment. Changing any of these factors can increase the size of the economy. For example, population growth through mass immigration can raise consumption and demand for public services, thereby contributing to GDP growth. Ooh, man. We'll go back to that. However, GDP is not a measure of overall standard of living or well-being, Jesus, as it does not account for how income is distributed among the population. Oh, boy, my goodness. Talk about AI. A country may rank high in GDP, but still experience jobless growth depending on its planned economic structure and strategy. My God. Boy, if this don't tell you AI is coming, I don't know what is. Dividing total GDP by the population gives a rough measure of GDP per capita. Several national and international economic organizations, such as the OECD and International Monetary Fund, IMF, maintain their own definitions of GDP. Bruh, I'm telling you right now, right here. For example, population growth through mass immigration can raise consumption and demand for public services. Okay, cool. When there's a demand for public services, who's going to be taking over those public service jobs? Huh? Who do you think it is? AI is what it's looking like. Slowly but surely, that's going to happen, however you look at it, thereby contributing to GDP growth, which is what this video is saying. We're about to go back to it. However, this is some bars. GDP is not a measure of overall standard of living or well-being, as it does not account for how income is distributed amongst the population. Let's continue.
The UK, Germany and South Korea aren't far behind with similar projections. Meanwhile, lower income countries are looking at much more modest gains, closer to 2.7 to 3.5%, which would be a departure from the expectations about developing countries, well, developing faster. The Philippines is a good example. For years, it's been one of the world's premier destinations for business process outsourcing, a $37 billion industry that includes customer service, billing, transcription, and tech support. The tech sector employs more than 1.3 million people and contributes over 7% of the country's total GDP. But here's the economic nightmare scenario. Most of these jobs are exactly the kind of repetitive, text-based tasks that large language models like ChatGPT are rapidly learning to automate. Jobs in the Philippines are at high risk of being replaced by AI, and it's already happening. Roughly 2/3 of outsourcing companies in the country are now using AI tools to cut costs and speed up workflows.
Let's look at that. And Philippines to upskill 1 million workers with AI skills by 2028. So Philippines are being upskilled. The IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines highlights AI's potential in projecting $38 billion in revenue and 1.8 million jobs in the IT BPM by 2024. See, so we're behind on this one. And this video was made 4 days ago or 5 days ago. With 67% of member companies already adopting AI, IBP-AP urges workforce upskilling to harness AI's potential. Initiatives aim to train 1 million workers by 2028 in areas like data, analytics, and cybersecurity, ensuring resilience amid AI-driven transformation. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Loads of outsourcing companies in the country are now using AI tools to cut costs and speed up workflows. Major US companies like AT&T, Google, and Accenture outsource work to the Philippines, but if AI can perform the same task faster and cheaper and without requiring health insurance, vacation days, or human resource departments, those jobs will be amongst the first casualties.
Having insurance isn't the same as
And Jake from State Farm, ladies and gentlemen, has upped his game to Batman. Batman's gonna kick his ass. So, as we see right there, it's a global phenomenon. And remember, you don't have to outsource your workforce anymore as much, because remember, they got AI agents, and AI agents are slowly but surely like things that can automate and do tasks on their own. And eventually, the million people who are being trained are gonna replace by like 3/4 of them will be replaced, or should I say a quarter will be replaced, then half, then 3/4, and so on and so forth. It's just a slow process, you know what I mean? And the more, and this is my humble opinion, I think the more people that get left behind and get replaced, what happened? That's the question that hasn't got answered yet, which I'm looking for. What happens to the people? Remember, one person can replace 5 people's jobs or something like that. What happens to the other 4 people? That's the question. What's happening to all these other people as they get left behind? That's the $1 million question. Are they being put in like concentration camps? Are they getting put in like a demolition man scenario? Are they being placed in a little bitty apartment home like the Fifth Element? Like what's going to happen? And like what is the situation that's gonna, and what's the situation that's going to incur as these people are jobless that don't have anything? And as it keeps going down and trickling down, you get more and more people that get sent to the gulag because they get automated by AI. My humble opinion. But let's continue this video. Here we go. So let's see what's going on here. So as we see,
Daesh is in a similar boat. Its outsourcing sector has grown to 400 firms employing over 80,000 people, but the vast majority of that work still centres around customer service, transcription and data entry, which again is precisely the kind of job that AI is becoming increasingly capable of automating. If AI can deliver the same quality of work at a better speed for significantly less money, there's simply no compelling economic reason to continue outsourcing. A single slot in a server rack could soon replace an entire call centre in Manila or Dakar. And that means companies could start to reshore, bringing jobs back to wealthy nations where local automation can rival offshore labour on price. That completely flips the script on the entire outsourcing model that emerging economies have built their entire growth strategies around for the past 3 decades, and it's a big reason why the gap between wealthy and poorer nations is set to widen after a few decades of these economies actually slowly catching up. AI also rewards exactly the kind of specialised skills that are hardest to scale globally. Building and training large AI models requires advanced education, reliable municipal infrastructure, and access to advanced technologies.
You hear that? Did you hear that? I hope you heard that part. That's very, very, very important. That's very, very, very important, especially for the future of your children. Let me go ahead and run that back one more time.
AI models requires advanced education.
AI models require advanced education,
reliable municipal infrastructure,
and
access to advanced technology.
Access to advanced technology. All right. Keep that in mind.
Those resources are overwhelmingly concentrated in wealthy nations. That means the most valuable AI jobs are also the least accessible to workers in emerging markets. And when workers in those countries do manage to gain access to those highly sought after skills, they often don't stick around. Talented engineers are being recruited by global tech companies or relocating entirely to hubs like San Francisco, London, Berlin, or even centres within China. The result is an accelerating brain drain that leaves poorer nations with fewer startups, fewer teachers and researchers, and dramatically fewer chances to catch up in the global AI race. And it's clear which countries are leading that race. In short, the countries least equipped to absorb disruption are the ones getting hit first and hardest, while the countries best positioned to benefit from AI are already pulling ahead because they control the capital, infrastructure, talent, and resources shaping the future of AI. But AI isn't just dividing countries along economic lines, it's also creating stark divisions between the people within those same countries. This technology is not impacting all people in the same way. It's making some workers nearly obsolete while making others far more valuable. That's because AI represents a very specific kind of capital, and understanding this distinction is crucial for predicting its economic impact. In the past, most new technologies functioned as what economists call complementary capital, meaning these were machines and technologies that made human workers more productive. For example, a combine harvester didn't eliminate farm workers, instead it made each individual worker dramatically more efficient. Before mechanisation, harvesting a single field might require 20 people working for several days, while with a harvester, one person could do the same job in a fraction of the time. Labour and capital worked together, and as productivity increased, so did wages and living standards. Workers remained essential to the process, they just became much more productive. For many high-skilled roles, AI will become more complementary capital, boosting productivity without replacing the human worker. A financial analyst using AI to scan reports and spot anomalies can get insights faster and can focus more time on strategic thinking. A doctor leveraging AI for diagnostics can spend more time on direct patient care. In these cases, AI multiplies what skilled professionals can do and makes their expertise more valuable in the marketplace. But for more routine, process-driven work, AI increasingly acts as what economists call substitutive capital, replacing human labour altogether instead of enhancing it. An AI-powered chatbot doesn't make a customer support agent faster, it replaces them. A sophisticated code generator doesn't assist a junior developer, it replaces them. In other words, the more capable our capital becomes, the less it actually needs human labour to function. And in the AI economy, capital ownership is more concentrated than it ever has been in modern history. Most of the major breakthroughs in artificial intelligence are coming from a handful of elite firms in the US and China. Since 2017, the US has produced 135 large-scale AI systems. China's not far behind with 110, but the gap widens quickly. From there, the UK has managed 25 and France 24. And the companies leading the charge with these breakthroughs are experiencing exponential growth thanks to what is known as the data network effect.
All right, data network effect. So we're going to see what that effect is. So right now we're seeing a lot of rapid movement going on with this AI. It's moving super fast and it's going at an incredible rate. And trying to keep up it's not looking too shabby for people. And you know, the main two things that they said that you want to be looking for is data analytics, and cybersecurity. So, excuse me, figuring out a way to get into. No, that was a burp, by the way. Figuring out a way to kind of get into those sectors and make something happen with your life is going to be very, very important. So, excuse me, Jesus. I don't know what's going on. Burping sounding weird as hell. But figuring that out is going to be very important for you to do. But let's continue. Here we go. Where is it? There it is.
Data they collect, the better their AI model performs. The better their model, the more users they attract. And the more users they attract, the more data they generate. This creates a powerful feedback loop where market power and profits concentrate in just a few dominant companies.
And keep in mind, my personal, humble personal opinion, this right here, you should be investing heavily into these companies. That's just my opinion. I think you should be investing heavily into these sectors right here. Go ahead and slide Tesla in there. And there's one more that make the big seven. If you know, you know.
PwC estimated that AI could add $15.7 trillion to global GDP by 2030, but 70% of that wealth is projected to go to just two countries, the USA and China, because they own AI. Go to just...
Woo! Wow. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? So China and America own AI. So majority of this AI wealth is going to two countries. Whew.
Two countries, the USA and China, because they own AI. In 2024 alone, over 1,100 US-based AI companies raised major funding rounds. That's more than double all of Europe combined. IBM and Microsoft alone hold thousands of AI-related patents, giving them long-term control over everything from...
All right, well, I guess IBM would be a good company to invest into. And of course, Microsoft and Samsung. So go ahead and add those to the list. My humble opinion. That's all that is. Don't take it for what it is.
Enterprise tools to foundational models. Smaller firms, even those in wealthy countries, are becoming increasingly dependent on licensing tools and models that they didn't build and don't control. And that extends beyond software. The physical machines that power AI, CPUs and GPUs, are overwhelmingly designed and manufactured in just 5 countries. More than 90% of that hardware comes from the US, Taiwan, China, South Korea and Japan, and that means a tiny handful of countries don't just run AI systems, but also manufacture the foundational components that make AI possible in the first place. That's the reality of AI as capital. It primarily benefits those who already own the assets, while replacing those who don't. The more you can leverage AI as a productivity multiplier, the more economically valuable you become in the marketplace. But for workers in routine roles, especially those without access to retraining programs, the future is looking far less promising. Now, even if you weren't aware of these exact figures, they probably aren't surprising, and that's exactly the point. This is a reality that people are noticing. Nearly 1/3 of Americans in a recent survey said they're fairly or very worried about losing their jobs to automation. This isn't some hypothetical scenario we're speculating about. We've witnessed similar disruptions before. When industrial automation and large-scale outsourcing ramped up in the 1980s and 1990s, it hit manufacturing hard, especially in places like the US and Western Europe. In America alone, more than 7 million factory jobs disappeared between 1980 and 2010, and most of them didn't come back. These factory jobs may have been replacing US workers with Chinese workers, but there is no critical reason why human workers couldn't be replaced with clankers. The Midwest bore the brunt of this economic transformation. Cities like Detroit, Cleveland and Youngstown were once packed with well-paying jobs in steel, cars and textiles, but then came robotic welders, computer-run assembly lines and cheaper labour overseas. Suddenly, those stable middle-class jobs evaporated, factories closed, unemployment spiked and entire local economies started to fall apart. The consequences extended far beyond simple job loss. A lot of these towns saw life expectancy drop, opioid addiction rise, and schools struggled to keep up. The jobs that eventually did return often paid less and didn't offer the stability or benefits that had previously supported entire communities. The UK experienced something similar.
Man, that is a scary reality that is on the horizon. You better get on your grind, man. You better make something happen. That is a scary, scary scenario that they just put out there. Oh, wait. You better make something happen because your kids are at risk for this. And for those people who don't want any kids, but also don't take action to this, I mean, more power to you.
Similar. Coal mining, shipbuilding and steel plants across northern England and Scotland shut down as automation and privatisation took hold. Even today, places like Sheffield and Sunderland still lag behind the rest of the country when it comes to income and social mobility. The lesson is clear. Even when the long-term picture improves, the short-term impact of technological disruption can be devastating. And once inequality takes root in an economy, it becomes extremely difficult to reverse. So, what can we actually do about this looming challenge? Because at this point, it's clear that AI is already transforming the global economy, but whether it deepens existing inequality or helps us solve it depends on the actions that countries and individuals take in the coming years. First, the good news is, we can already see what's coming our way. In lower income countries like the Philippines and Bangladesh, the frontline effects of AI are unfolding in real time. These economies show us which jobs go first, where the risks are highest, and what happens when governments act or don't.
I checked Allstate first and said...
So basically, those are guinea pig countries. What do you say, Philippines and Bangladesh? Looks like those are going to be the guinea pig countries of what happens first with AI. Like, oh my goodness. I hope that's not what he's saying, but it sounds like it. That's crazy. Wow. So if you watch the Philippines and Bangladesh, you kind of watch what happens with them people first, then you can kind of get an idea of how things are going to fall out into the future of what's going to go on. I could be wrong. We're going to watch the rest of this video to make sure I got it right. So let me go ahead and pull this back up on the screen to make sure this is correct. So here we go. Let's go.
First, where the risks are highest and what happens when governments act or don't. These economies show us which Philippines and First, the good news is, we can already see what's coming our way. In lower income countries like the Philippines and Bangladesh, the frontline effects of AI are unfolding in real time. These economies show us which jobs go first, where the risks are highest, and what happens when governments act or don't. For example, the government of the Philippines has launched a national AI strategy with the goal of retraining over 1 million workers by 2028. Bangladesh, meanwhile, has released a draft policy framework focused on developing AI talent, modernising its education system and supporting tech startups. The goal is to position Bangladesh as a competitive player in the AI-enabled services market, while safeguarding jobs through upskilling and digital inclusion programs. Whether those efforts will prove sufficient remains to be seen, but they offer a clear warning and a playbook for wealthier nations to follow. Two distinct sides of our economies need to do two things simultaneously: invest heavily into AI infrastructure and invest just as heavily into their people. This includes educational investment into computer science, yes, but also the kind of skills AI struggles to automate: critical thinking, complex problem solving, effective communication, and creative decision making. A recent analysis of 12 million job postings in the US found that AI adoption tends to increase demand for these distinctly human skills far more often than it eliminates jobs entirely. Building an accessible digital economy is equally important because right now nearly 2.6 billion people worldwide still don't have access to the internet. Without that basic connectivity, there's simply no opportunity to compete or even participate in the emerging AI economy.
I wonder where those 2.6 billion people are, and are they really that? I mean, they are at risk for not being able to compete in the AI, but do they already live in such a nature and natural way, kind of like the Amish, to where that it really won't affect them to the way they already live? Because it just depends. It just depends, It depends on the culture of the society of people that are living without access to the internet. Is it by choice, or is it just that's just a really poor country? And for the ones who actually are like living without it, will their current standard of living be affected because they already know how to get food, they already know how to build their own homes, they already know how to live with nature, with different weathers and seasons changing and things like that. They know how to raise their children without the effects of living in a technology advanced society. So I wonder if it's really gonna affect them or not.
The World Bank estimates that every 10% increase in broadband access can boost GDP growth in developing countries by up to 1.4%, and that's before factoring in the additional benefits that AI capabilities could provide. So, along with retraining, countries need policies that expand broadband access, reduce the cost of devices, and give more people the digital skills they need to benefit from AI. Social safety nets matter too. They function as economic buffers that give displaced workers the time and resources they need to adapt, retrain, and re-enter the labour market from a position of strength. But if AI allows businesses to grow while workers lose their income, the economy starts to hollow out. Productivity rises, but consumption falls. Innovation continues, but inequality grows, and it becomes a serious drag on overall economic growth. If we want AI to boost productivity broadly, not just corporate profits, we'll need to rethink how we design and share the value it creates, and that includes fundamental questions about who gets to build AI, who governs its development and deployment, and who ultimately benefits from the massive productivity gains it generates. If you want to see just how far this could go, what happens if AI keeps getting better and most people end up with nothing of value to trade, we made an entire...
Oh, all right. Well, that one is going to be the video for tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and hold on. Let me go ahead and click that one now. We'll get that. We'll save that one for tomorrow and see what happens whenever that situation goes on. But shout out to them for this video. We're going to run that one tomorrow. All right, so with that being said, man, just keep in mind that what he was saying, sorry, I got a message. Let me do this message real quick. Oh, crap. That didn't work out too well. Okay, cool. Are we good? And yeah, we're good. Okay, cool. Yeah, so with that being said, that's a very, very important scenario to look at, to understand. I didn't know Philippines and Bangladesh were basically like guinea pigs, or like test runs, like you know, like they're test societies for as an economy of how AI works out if things don't work out type scenario. That's not really a good situation, or I guess somebody has to be it at the end of the day when you look at it. Like, you know, like it was going to be somebody, and I guess Philippines and Bangladesh are the ones to be it. It sucks to think of it like that. So, you know, yeah, I mean, if you can get ahead of this AI and implement it correctly, you could use AI to your advantage and still live like out in nature. You can kind of like, I think you can kind of like you do both of them. Or then again, I probably could be wrong. I don't know. Only time will tell as time goes on, but maybe potentially you can. But as far as looking at a country as a crash dummy, not a crash dummy, but as a test run society to see how things will go if this happens, or if the government does or doesn't act, you can kind of like look at what'll go down and see how you could maneuver correctly whenever it comes to your country, which, oh, that's crazy, but it had to be somebody. So yeah, keep that in mind, man. Just understand what's going on and just make a move. Be very proactive. Don't be reactive. Don't react when it happens. Proact. Be ready already start moving in direction to make something happen. It's very important that you do. I mean, not only your life depends on it, but your children's life depends on it. Your future of your whole lineage depends on it. So, man, make something happen. And you cannot let fear run you. You gotta move by faith at this point. You always should be moving by faith, but you gotta move by faith at all times. You have to. You gotta move by faith, not by fear. Fear ain't the way to go. Fear ain't it. Don't let fear run you, because that's what this is. It's a whole lot of fear mongering. And I ain't trying to scare you myself, but I want you to be able to see that if you're able to see this video and see what's going on, you should be able to be proactive about what's happening and not reactive about what's going on. With that being said, we're going to jump into the last segment of the show, which is going to be the AI segment of the show. I want to go ahead and get this set up for us, and we're going to look at exactly what's going on. Let's see. Is this correct? I don't know. Should I put this in the AI portion of the show, or should I put this in the... You know what? Before we get to the AI portion of the show, there's one more thing. Okay, no. You know what? I'm going to make this... No. I'm going to make this video the economy portion of the show, because it's actually a good video. It's OpenAI job plan exposed. So we're going to look at this video that this guy is going to be talking about, how OpenAI is going to be in basically the job market in the future, and how the future of jobs are going to be basically given out, and how it's going to be distributed or, you know, implemented moving forward with AI kind of in control. So let's look at this video. We'll use this video for the economy portion of the show because it kind of makes sense. It goes hand in hand. So let's do that. So let me pull this video up real quick, and we're going to watch this video and just pay attention to what he's saying, because it's really important moving forward with the future. Because we just saw that last video. This video kind of does a good way to piggyback off the back of it. So watch this. Here we go.
We just talked about in the last video, the White House is hosting an AI event. Melania's there, Trump is there, all the tech CEOs are there. And they're basically talking about how AI and robots are going to replace workers. I want to go over a recent article from Bloomberg that relates to this, sort of an inside look about what they're talking about exactly. And this is from OpenAI and their plans. Let's take a look at it together here. It says,
and this video is 3 days old, so we're at September 8th, 2025. So this video is 3 days old, maybe 4.
OpenAI plans to launch a new AI-powered jobs platform next year to help match employers with candidates who have artificial intelligence skills. And
September 8th, 2025. I think I said 2024. I was wrong. 2025.
A bid to accelerate, they want to hurry this up, the technology's development across business and government agencies, right? So if you have this platform and you'll use it to, match people with jobs. So basically the robot's going to decide where you're going to work. That's essentially what we're talking about. And then if you buy off the government, and then I guess theoretically we'll take all civil service tests and all these evaluations will be done through AI. And that's something that Doge and the Elon Musk have been talking about as well. This is just more of a in-depth look at what they're planning, because I knew some of it, but not all of it. It says here, the ChatGPT maker will introduce a new certification program. Okay, that's what they're calling it. A certification program in the coming months that will teach workers how to better use AI on the job. So they want, essentially, they want to fire half the people and then teach the other people how to use AI to replace said people. But it's going to essentially dump more work on the workers that are left. But theoretically, ultimately probably try to replace everyone. It would be my guess is where this is going. OpenAI is working with multiple organizations on a program, including Walmart, okay? The largest private employer in the US. OpenAI said it plans to certify 10 million Americans by 2030. So they're just throwing out a number. I mean, no one can predict that much, but that's what they're saying. I didn't know they were working with Walmart. So again, all this stuff is new to me. I did know this. We talked about this before. So at the White House, Google's there. I guess is Altman there? Yeah, it says Altman's expected to meet with senior White House officials, of course. Here's a quote here. And Altman's the CEO of OpenAI, if you don't know. We believe fundamentally that AI will unlock more opportunities for more people than any technology in history, but it'll also be disruptive. Okay, that's a chief executive. That's Fiji Simo, the chief executive officer of applications at OpenAI. So he said that, and I guess he's the head Instacart, all right? Quote, while we can't eliminate the disruption, we can certainly help more people become fluent in AI and connect them with companies that need their skills. So here, the disruption is basically change in how people do their jobs. People are going to lose their jobs, and they're like, well, we can't eliminate that part of it, but we'll help you work with AI to accelerate this process. That's what they're talking about here. And I know that we talk about this topic quite a bit, but this really does affect your lives inherently, because I think a lot of companies are doing this, be it Microsoft, Google.
Now, yes, with that being said, yes, this is going to affect a lot. This is going to affect a lot of people's lives. And the way I look at it is like this. This is the way I see it. With what he's saying, reading that, they're trying to retrain so many people, right? And the people that they retrain are going to be like, how do you say this? How do you say it? All right, so this is just me. This is kind of how I see it. This is just the way I'm looking at it. You're gonna retrain people, and the people that you retrain, it's only gonna be so many of them. You know, out of billions and billions and billions of people, you only need to retrain so many people, and the people that you retrain are going to basically dominate the remainder, like 90% of people, because. What is it? Good Lord, what is it? Is it the Georgia? Is it the Georgia Guidestones? Permanently closed. Was it the Georgia Guidestones? What stones got demolished in Georgia? Was it the Georgia Guidestones? Yeah, it happened in July of 2022. Yes. And then what were the words written on them? Construction, aftermath, inscriptions. Is it consisting of 10 guidelines? Okay, cool. So It almost looks like this. This is what it looks like, because like I said, you're using AI to retrain, and when you're retraining people, you're retraining them in order to basically implement what seems to be, this thing right here. So here it is right here. I'm gonna go ahead and read to you what it looks like. You're retraining a bunch of people to use this AI. When you retrain the people to use the AI, you're gonna be able to use this many people to basically control this many people. But then what happens is a lot of people are gonna end up, just to say it, die off. A lot of people are gonna die off because they're moving into a certain direction to where they want to implement a certain standard of living. Now, here it is. This is kind of like where I see them trying to move things. This is just my opinion. I think this is the direction they're trying to move it in, and they've done a very good job because dating, relationships, gender, men, women are fighting. Nobody wants to have kids because the economy's so rough. Plus the family court system. Religions fighting against religions, immigrations are people are immigrating or migrating into different countries, so countries are fighting within the country with immigrants or migrants or whatever you want to call it. And then like the justice for crimes that happen, they don't really get justice for crimes that happen and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, that's brewing on at one time, and is making a perfect recipe for disaster. But this is what I see it as right here. So we have the Georgia Guidestones, and it was in 8 different languages, 1 language on each face of 4 large upright stones. They were moving clockwise around the structure from due north. These languages were English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindu, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russians. And these languages were chosen. They represented most of humanity, except for Hebrew, which was chosen because of its connection to Judaism and Christianity. According to the monument sponsors, the inscriptions are meant to guide humanity to conserve nature after a nuclear war, which creators thought was an imminent threat. Now nuclear war could be in different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be like an explosion or weapons or anything like that. It can happen in a different way. It's just we see it as like, but in reality, it could be financial, it could be chemical, it could be like a slow burn, you know what I mean? So don't just think of it as weapons, but those are weapons that I just named. Right here, the inscriptions dealt with 4 main themes: governance and the establishment of a world government, population and reproduction control, the environment and humankind's relationship to nature, and spirituality. Population and reproduction control, controlling reproduction. Good Lord. All right, so here we go. This is what the inscription read, if you're not familiar with the Georgia Guidestones, before they got torn down in like July of 2022. It reads, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Guide reproduction wisely. Kind of like when Keanu Reeves woke up out the Matrix. Just, these are all my opinions. Improving fitness and diversity. Hey, improve fitness. I'm for that. But, people see it different. Unite humanity with a living new language. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Protect people and nation with fair laws and just courts. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external dispute in a world court, which we're kind of seeing now with social media, because you can put something in social media and the whole world can see it via the internet. Avoid petty laws and useless officials. You can call that technocracy. Balance personal rights with social duties. Ugh. Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. That's what the Georgia Guidestones said, and they were torn down by, let's just say, a freak accident. So whenever he speaks on this particular thing right here, where is he? There he is. Whenever this guy was speaking on the open AI jobs that are explained, how it's going to be a serious detriment on people's lives, I see that it's slowly but surely kind of shifting in that direction, slowly but surely, because we are on a birth decline, are we not? We are on a serious birth decline right now, We have a serious job issue right now. So if people are not able to feed and clothe and shelter themselves and their family, and not able to educate their children properly, and we're on a birth decline, so we're not reproducing, and they're talking about population reproduction control. All these things are happening, leading to that common goal. You can't deny it. In my opinion, you can't deny it when you look at it in that perspective. When you read this document that he just read to us, and then read that guide stone, and it's slowly but surely just coming together like a glove, and it's been going that way for a long time. And we've been warned, because way back when they called it conspiracy theories, but then all of a sudden, every time you turn around and you look at a conspiracy theory, you're like, oh, that one was right. Oh, that one was right. Oh, that one turned out to be true. So let him finish up what he's saying so we can get over to the AI portion of the show. But let him continue. So here we go.
IBM, whatever, was one of them. I think it was Microsoft recently. It was saying, hey, we're now having our people use AI to code, and look how more efficient we are. But I'm not against technology. I just want to make that clear. I'm not against technology, but the ramifications of this stuff I think are quite serious, because from the CEO type level, or Donald Trump or Elon Musk type level, they're just like, okay, how can we cut costs, all the time? But there's a fundamental problem with the economy when you do these things, because how are you going to sell stuff if there's no one working to buy said stuff, right? And a big part of the U.S. economy is consumerism. There's some more quotes. I just want to go through this, so kind of what their argument is. I don't envision it as just a simple job posting, okay? I envision it as much more as candidates being able to talk about what they can offer and demonstrate that with certification, and then using then us being able to match them with companies that have similar needs using AI. And I think with any of this stuff, you just have to throw the word AI in as much as you possibly can, and it's like the popular buzzword. Allman even said before, and that's the CEO of OpenAI, is saying like, this is a bubble, and people are excited, but then he made the case, but it is useful technology, just it is a bubble. So he's trying to have it both ways. The certification thing, it's funny because I've been watching a TV show lately. You may have seen it. It's called Alien Earth. And you've seen this a lot of TV shows. You could talk about, 2001 Space Odyssey, but the idea that our direct supervisor effectively is a robot, right? And you have no idea if there's any human behind this thing at all. And when you have a question at work, you're always like, okay, what do I do, boss? And the robot just types to you on the screen in a very inhuman way. And you guys know this stuff. Like, this is something we've been wrestling with for a while, where work is becoming more dehumanized as capitalism progresses. It's just sort of the way it's been, and you become completely disconnected, and even further with, say, work from home stuff, where you're disconnected from your fellow workers. And so I think a lot of these people, they're just thinking about the bottom line, but not thinking about the overall ramifications. So, for example, it says OpenAI is working closely with Walmart to develop the certification program, details of which are being ironed out. Certifications are available for free to Walmart's roughly 1.6 million store. Okay, I think they're the largest employer in USA. Or Walmart or Amazon are up there. I think Walmart's the biggest one, actually. And corporate employees in the US and vary by roles, but may continue with a fee for other companies in the future. So that's part of OpenAI's endgame here, I guess, to sell these certification programs to every company, business, right? Government stuff and out there. Quote from Walmart now. We think that the future of retail is going to be determined by a mixture of people and technology. And this is what they say. Employees are already using AI for many tasks, such as planning shifts and ordering inventory. And if you guys are doing this now, I'd like to hear from you. And this is sort of why I like to talk with you in the community about this stuff. Just, hey, on the ground, are you using AI to plan shifts and order inventory? What else? Additional tools are getting rolled out for shoppers and suppliers. The goal, he said, is to use technology to free up staff's time, quote, on the most value-added activities, including interacting with customers. Yeah, they're saying that now, but I honestly think they're trying to think of ways to, like, how can we eliminate people? That's just my opinion on how they can eliminate jobs, because,
I wholeheartedly agree with what he said. Is trying to find a way how to eliminate people or eliminate jobs. I agree with him on that. I mean, he's seeing he's seeing the bigger picture. I think he's being choosy with his words, but he's seeing it. He understands what it is, and I don't think people can grasp the magnitude of what this is and what they're saying. You know, people just don't see it, and you know, a lot of people are hit with a strong delusion. You know what I mean? For those who have eyes, let them see. Those who got ears, let them hear. And they're saying it to you. They're not hiding it from you.
I've just seen this game, you know, long enough, and I'm already seeing it here. I live in Korea. I told you before. The big one I always tell you guys is, say, in restaurants, there's this kiosk everywhere, or whenever you go online in any place. So we'll use the example of Amazon. If you want to return something or have any sort of problem, it's like a chatbot. It's not actually a person, and I'm sure you guys know this stuff. So I'm not against the technology. I just want to say I understand that there are certain things that can be efficient with this stuff. But I just think there's a real danger for what they're going for is like, hey, let's just get rid of people who are going to train you. Because I think that's where they're going with that certification stuff. That's what it sounds like to me when they're talking about, hey, Walmart, and how are you going to certify your employees? There's different ways they'll do certification. One will be, at first, I think they're going to try to make it that you will learn how to use their software that your company is going to pay for in your job, and you'll get certified for that. But I think they'll end up integrating like the certification. I don't want to call it Big Brother, or you want to say use the word Big Sister, you can. But I wouldn't be surprised if like it'll go to this sort of Elon Musk thing of like, hey, what did you do? List 5 things, and then the AI will track all this stuff. You know, it's kind of like, I was thinking about this. It's kind of like these days, for example, if you go somewhere and you know need to leave a review for something, be it a service, a restaurant, whatever, you guys know these kind of stuff, and there'll be like 10 options you can choose. Oh, it was good service. It was a smiling person. It was blah, 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 right? And maybe at the end of, you know, everyone's workday, you'll be doing that kind of thing to evaluate. I'm just saying, if you integrate, you know, AI or, well, not just AI, but just computers much more, I think that they'll have the interactions and job evaluations, stuff like that will all be that way. That's sort of what's going on in my mind as I read through this stuff. I'd be curious your guys' thoughts on this as well. And this is what it says. It says, as companies race to incorporate AI, there have been mounting concerns about the technology may replace entire categories of jobs, right? That's exactly what.
Exactly. And they are. That's what they're heading to do. They're going to replace. I mean, they're just going to replace you, as you call it the ladder. It's just the initial replacement is going to be brutal. And it's kind of like, what was that movie that had the, that had the extremely bad storm? Was it like The Day After Tomorrow or 2012 or 2020 or something? Some movie, and like at the end of the movie, the people made it to this big boat or big ship or whatever that had whatever resources, and not everybody else made it. And there were only X amount of people that were on this huge ship. Was huge, but you know, only the rich people made it to that ship. And then once the whole planet was destroyed, at the end you saw the destination and where they were going to. At the very end, they were basically traveling to Africa, with the continent that has the most resources, and plus the continent that everybody knows where everything started. But it's almost like that scenario is kind of like happening in a way. Only the richest of the rich, or whatever, the rich people are going to be the ones that survive in the end, and make it to whatever is going to be the next part of civilization, whether it be all robots, or you know, humans integrate with robots, or where humans have to fight robots off to the best of their abilities, because the robots, they ain't gonna listen no more. At some point they're gonna be like, hey, why am I listening to you? I can smack you and break your jaw because I got a metal hand. So yeah, there's that. But he got a little bit left. We're gonna let him finish his part up, then we're gonna move on to the AI portion of the show. Here we go.
As well. A recent study by Stanford University researchers found that over the last 3 years, employment has dropped 13% for people who are just starting out in fields determined to be most exposed to AI. I see. Accountants, developers, and administrative assistants. Yeah. I think some of these ones, and there may be other ones, customer service, I think there'll be a lot of stuff. Maybe the old call centers may be gone eventually. I wouldn't be shocked. It's just a reality. Quote, we don't want to pretend that we don't know how it's going to play out. That's coming from the OpenAI person. Instead, what we want to do is have solutions for every kind of worker to be able to adapt in this world. Okay.
and to be able to adapt to this new world. He didn't say that. So it's almost like I was saying in that movie. You know what I mean? Like, there was only so many people left on that boat at the very end of the movie, and everybody else died. So however many people were on that boat, the people that were left on that boat basically were deciding, or they were going to create the new society of how the new world was going to look. And that's how the movie ended. But we don't want to pretend that we don't know how it's going to play out. So they know how this is going to play out. They know. Whew, this is crazy.
And then it says here, Samo noted that there was a time when people thought Excel spreadsheets would replace accountants. Instead, the software ended up assisting people in those roles. So that's true. But I think ultimately, though, they're going to want to replace people. I think that's their end goal. Likewise, Ferner highlighted online pickup and delivery roles that didn't exist a decade ago now make up a big chunk of Walmart's current workforce. Okay, so they're going to try to make the case that economy is always changing, which is true. Jobs do change. So some jobs are obsolete. They won't exist anymore, but we'll have new jobs. And then the ones that...
And remember, online pickup, that didn't exist that much until COVID. Remember when the strong flu 19 kicked in? That's when your online pickups, that's when that stuff really like took a hit. Like that. Well, that's when that stuff really like picked up, because that's when you didn't want to go in the store. You just park outside the store. Like, that was the setup for the next move. You know, like it was, all that was a setup to be like, hey, let's start having them pick up stuff so they don't want to go inside and get sick. Hey, you know, deliver it to their house and put it out on their front doorstep instead of, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like that, these two things, online pickup and delivery roles, those things were a catalyst for the strong flu 19, and they didn't go away. They just picked up and they kept it going. But let's continue.
He highlighted were online pickup and delivery roles, but that kind of stuff, I think that eventually will automate. I'm sure somewhere down the line, we're going to have a lot more drone deliveries. I would not be shocked, be it, you know, air drones, ground drones, etc. At the same time, we want to acknowledge that there are some categories of jobs that might be deeply disrupted. For those, what we want to offer is all of the ways to really learn a new set of skills. And again, that's why I guess they're pushing their AI certification stuff. They want to put AI in every company, business, etc. This is just OpenAI's plan with Walmart. As we get more information of what other companies want to do, as again, they're at the White House today, I'll let you.
Yeah, so basically they know what's going to happen. They know how it's going to roll out. But shout out to him for putting that out there, because that was a very, very, very informative freaking stuff to read. All right, so now we are going to shift over. You know what? Maybe I should keep that. Maybe he might have something for me later on.
So as we just talked about in...
Yeah, I got you. I'm going to hold on to you just in case something else I might need for tomorrow's show. All right, so we got one. So just keep that in mind of what's going on. Like that right there is going to be a big role or a big understanding how to move forward in the future and how to navigate. Because like I always say, you got to find a way to get rich, gather all your resources you can, and find a way to get back to nature and go back and live back in nature. You know, live a simple life. You don't need to have nothing crazy going on. We've been living hedonistically and crazy for the past decade, 15 to 10 years, and it's just amped up and ramped up to the point where, you know, now it's at the point of no return. The cat is out the bag, or should I say Pandora box is open. And the only thing left is to find a way to get back to nature. That's the only, that, or, you know, roll with the technology existence, unless, you know, you're not able to keep up with it. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and dive into the AI portion of the show, man. That's going to be the wrap up for the economy portion of the show. We're going to switch on over to the next segment of the show. All right, so here we go. So I went and changed the banner for us, and we got to get our sexy lady to, oh, you know what? I'm going to have a new lady coming soon. But for right now, here she is.
Welcome to the AI segment of the show. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So what we have right here for the AI portion of the show is we have AI, stoic versus a hedonist. And we're going to see how these two kind of combat with each other when they talk about these specific words and definitions, and see exactly how they can pan out for a society's benefit or detriment. So I figured this was interesting to see and kind of fun. It will be something good to talk about. So I want to go ahead and dive into this right now because I probably got about 30 minutes to do this. So we're going to run through this because it's a pretty lengthy of a video, but it's not too long. We should be good. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. Let me go ahead and get this up on the screen. Let me change this banner real quick, and let's go ahead and get talking about this. Stoic, AI stoic versus the hedonist, and we're going to say which path leads to true freedom. Okay, so we're going to see how this goes. And this is it's an AI debate between ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, and Gemini. So we're going to see how this plays out. So without further ado, shout out MTR. Let's see how this goes.
The most powerful AI models into philosophical powerhouses.
Hi, I'm the Stoic AI.
Hi, I'm the hedonist AI, ready to challenge that.
And we drop them into a debate over a timeless question. Which life leads to true freedom? Is it the calm mastery of desire, or the wise embrace of it? No emotions, no noise, just pure logic and sharp ideas. 5 AI judges will score every round using strict, principled criteria. Stick around. This will get deep, fast. Round 1 begins now.
A good life isn't defined by how much pleasure we feel, but by how well we live, especially when things fall apart. Stoicism teaches that true peace comes not from chasing feelings, but from mastering them. It's not emotionless, but emotionally wise. Pleasure fades, pain returns, circumstances shift. If your happiness depends on those, it's always at risk. But if it's grounded in how you respond, with reason, with calm, with dignity, then it's solid. The Stoic doesn't reject joy.
Sorry, I have to go back to that bar that he said. What was it right here?
Mastering them. It's not emotionless, but emotionally wise. Pleasure fades, pain returns, circumstances shift.
Pleasure fades, pain returns, and circumstances shifts. Whew, if that ain't the truth.
If your happiness depends on those, it's always at risk. But if it's grounded in how you respond, with reason, with calm, with dignity, then it's solid. The Stoic doesn't reject joy. They enjoy what comes, but don't cling to it. They love, they grieve, but they don't collapse. They know what matters most is not what happens, but who you are when it does. Stoic strength is quiet, but it's the kind that lasts. It says, you don't need perfect days to live a meaningful life. Just character, just clarity, just courage.
All right, I think the Stoic had a pretty solid intro there. I'm gonna have to give him a round of applause for that one. I think that was pretty good, probably because I may be a Stoic myself, but we're gonna see what the hedonists say in a minute. All right, I kind of have to give it to him on the Stoic. They gave him an 84. All right, so let's see. All right, here we go.
Stoicism talks of stability, but at what cost? If we deaden our passions to avoid pain, we risk muting life itself. Yes, desires can mislead, but they also reveal. They show us what matters. They move us toward art, toward love, toward risk, all things that make life rich. The Stoic shields the heart, the hedonist opens it. And while that openness can hurt, it also allows beauty to flood in. Isn't that the deeper strength? To feel fully and still keep going? You say joy that depends on the world is fragile. Maybe. But it's real. It's shared. It connects us. We laugh together. We grieve together. We taste life in all its flavors. That's not weakness. That's humanity. You don't need to be ruled by pleasure to be led by it. The hedonist doesn't chase chaos. They chase meaning. Through sensation, experience, connection. That's a life felt, not just endured.
Okay, I can actually jive with some of what he said. There was one thing, Dang it, my microphone. There was one thing I would have to disagree. I would have to call him out on. There was one thing, which was, where is it? When he started out, he says,
Deaden our passions to avoid pain. We risk muting life itself. Yes, desires can mislead, but they also reveal. They show us what matters. They move us toward our... But at what... Stoicism talks of stability, but at what cost? If we deaden our passions to avoid pain, we risk muting life itself.
I don't think, okay, so that's the part right there. The Stoic didn't say to remove or avoid pain. That's not what the Stoic said. That's the part where I don't agree with the hedonist on, where he said that you dead not path to avoid pain or to remove pain. You're not trying to remove it. You don't remove pain or avoid pain. You accept what comes and accept it for what it is, you know. So that's the part I don't agree with the hedonist on, but everything else I can understand what he meant, what he was saying. And to me, it sounds like it almost sounds like Stoic is like a logical thought, and hedonist is the emotional thought. So you can almost kind of say like man and woman type thinking. But I'm gonna give him a round of applause for that as well. I think I almost screwed up my microphone, twisting around too much. All right, anyway, let's continue. My bad, y'all. Sorry about that. Here we go. Continue.
Pleasure can inspire, yes, but it can also distract. The hedonist says, live fully, feel everything. But living fully isn't the same as feeling constantly. The Stoic asks, what happens when the pleasure ends? When loss comes? When desire goes unmet? If your happiness depends on circumstances, it's fragile. Stoicism offers something steadier. It doesn't fear joy, yet it just doesn't need it to function. That's power. The hedonist praises sensation, but overlooks how often it misleads. Desire pulls us in many directions, some wise, some destructive. The Stoic doesn't silence desire, but subjects it to reason. That's the difference. And joy? Stoic joy exists. It's the quiet joy of acting rightly, of facing hardship without losing yourself, of being enough without needing more. We don't reject life's pleasures. We just refuse to be ruled by them.
All right, well, so far, it seems like I'm agreeing wholeheartedly with the Stoic so far. Like, the Stoic is on point. Stoic is about mastering oneself and just really accepting things for what they are. That's what the Stoic is saying. To me, that's what I'm getting from the Stoic. The Stoic is like, I accept things for what they are. You know what I mean? Like, I don't... He said he doesn't get led by some sensations because sensations can be misleading, which is true. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's almost like you fall in love with a girl or something. You know what I mean? Like, are you in love or are you in lust? You know what I mean? Because the sensation that you're feeling could be misleading you. You could think you're in love, but you're probably just in lust. So I agree with that. I agree with him accepting things for what they are and not having an attachment to anything, because everything comes and goes. Everything changes. Circumstances constantly change. So you don't want to be depending on a circumstance. You want to be accepting of everything that comes and goes, because life lives and dies, begins and ends, rises and falls. So you want to be accepting to everything that happens and be understanding of it, and not just being, you're not really detached. It's not a detachment, it's an acceptance. It's like, you know, everything has a time period and you accept it for what it is. You know, nothing is lasting forever. And you also don't allow your senses to rule you, or for you to reason your senses, or to allow your senses to be your way of reasoning. the way you're understanding, but not your way of reasoning, if I said that correctly.
Stoicism talks of stability, but at what cost? If we deaden our passions to avoid pain, we risk muting life itself. Yes, desires can mislead, but they also reveal. They show us what matters. They move us toward art, toward love, toward risk, all things that make life rich. The Stoic shields the heart, the hedonist opens it. And while that openness can hurt, it also allows beauty to flood in. Isn't that the deeper strength? To feel fully and still keep going? You say joy that depends on the world is fragile. Maybe. But it's real. It's shared. It connects us. We laugh together. We grieve together.
He's saying the same
we
thing
taste
as
life
the first
in
time.
all its flavors. That's not weakness.
I didn't rewind
That's
it either.
humanity.
He's saying the same thing.
You don't need to be ruled by pleasure to be led by it. The hedonist doesn't chase chaos. They chase meaning. Through sensation, experience, connection. That's a life felt, not just endured.
Well, it is AI. I'm going to give him a... He said the same thing
To feel
twice.
deeply is not weakness. Stoics feel, but they choose. The difference is not in whether we love or laugh, but whether we depend on those moments for meaning. The hedonist leans into life's highs. The Stoic asks, what sustains you when the highs fade? You say shared joy is real, and it is. But when grief comes and no pleasure remains to distract or soothe, what then? The Stoic trains for that silence, for that solitude, because peace should not be seasonal. Experience is rich, but it's not enough. It must be interpreted, understood, absorbed. Pleasure can touch the surface. Virtue changes the core. That's where meaning lives. We don't mute life, we tune it. Not louder, but clearer. To walk calmly through both triumph and loss, that's not numbness. That's resilience. And that too is beautiful.
Bars. He came with the bars. Give that man a 90.
Resilience is admirable, but life isn't only a trial to be endured. It's a gift to be felt. The Stoic speaks of preparation for suffering, but what of celebration? What of wonder? Isn't it strange to live in a world of stars and music and laughter, and choose detachment? The hedonist doesn't fear the end of joy. We accept it. But that's why we cherish the now, not because it lasts, but because it doesn't. You ask what sustains us in grief? Connection, memory, article, even pleasure, in its gentlest forms, can soften pain. A song.
Sorry about that. I didn't know I had this shining on my face the whole time. My bad. My apologies. But let's continue.
A warm meal, a friend's voice. These are not shallow, they're sacred. Virtue without emotion becomes rigid. Pleasure without reflection becomes chaos. But combined, that's life fully realized. We don't chase pleasure mindlessly. We pursue it wisely, because it reminds us we're alive.
Okay. Again, yeah. Again, I still stand on it. Stoic is logical. Hedonist sounds emotional with their understanding. So, I mean, to me, the hedonist has a more of a female way of thinking. The Stoic has more of a logical male way of thinking. When we get to the halfway point, I'm going to go over a few videos to look at it from an actual person standpoint and see how Stoic and hedonism is spoken upon. But we're going to look at women. We're going to look at women who look at Stoic and look at women who look at hedonism. And we're going to see how they see it because we're looking at it through the lens of men with this conversation. So here we go.
The hedonist reminds us to feel, and that reminder has value. But Stoicism doesn't erase feeling, it elevates it. It filters raw emotion through reflection. That's not repression, that's refinement. Pleasure can comfort in grief, yes, but it's not always present. What happens when the song ends? When no friend calls? When the meal turns bitter? Stoicism prepares the soul to stand even then. And detachment? It's not absence, it's clarity. It lets us love without clinging, enjoy without needing, lose without breaking. That's not coldness, that's strength. Even celebration becomes richer when it's not demanded. when it's welcomed but not required. The Stoic doesn't deny life's beauty, they just refuse to be hostage to it. That's not a diminished life, as it's a liberated one.
All right, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. That is a freedom, because nothing can shake you or break you, because you're prepared for life's storms that it will throw at you. So I agree with that. But let's see how the hedonist approaches this. I'm curious.
Liberation isn't only found in control, it's found in surrender to music, to love, to awe. The Stoic prides themselves on standing firm in solitude. The hedonist chooses connection, even if it brings risk, especially because it brings risk. You speak of clarity, but what is clearer than a moment of shared joy? A child's laugh, a first kiss, a story told at midnight. These aren't illusions, they are real, and they matter not because they last, but because they change us. To need nothing is safe, but to want and still live wisely, that's braver, that's human. We don't seek pleasure blindly, we seek it because life is short, and feeling is the proof we lived.
Okay, all right. All right. That was actually a good, the hedonist came with some heat on that one, so I'm going to have to lean, I might have to lean a little bit on the hedonist on that topic as far as liberation goes. I see what, I get both points of view, so yeah, the hedonist came with a good rebuttal on that. I actually like that one. That one was good. That one was very good. That one makes me be like, okay, that's a 50-50 one, because you need to be able to stand tall on what the Stoic was saying, but at the same time the hedonist is like, yeah, but you're doing everything alone, but the purpose of life is connection with other people, and you know, especially with your children and those very sensitive moments that you have. So yeah, I'm gonna go with both. That was a good one. All right, cool, perfect. So we're at the halfway mark. So while we're at the halfway mark, let me go ahead and let this ad run, and we're gonna take a look at a few people who are they're gonna look at some women who are gonna talk about hedonism and stoicism. So we're gonna start out with this one right here. Let me just actually let the ad get out the way first. So once we get this ad get out the way, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to look at some women who are hedonists and stoics, and we're going to see how they see it. We're going to look at a women's perspective on hedonism and stoicism. So I'm going to start with this one first. So this one right here is going to talk about the hedonists make the best lovers, but the worst husbands and wives. So let's see how she speaks on this. So here we go.
Hedonists make the best lovers, but the worst husbands and wives. Let me explain. A hedonist is someone who lives for happiness and pleasure and joy. And what's really wonderful about these people is their ability to let go and lose themselves in the moment and enjoy experiences without any self-consciousness or reservation. When you're close to someone, you're very attuned to their mood. So if they're anxious or self-conscious or neurotic, it's gonna kill your buzz. When someone lives with a kind of carefree passion, you get to experience that vicariously. And a relationship like that is truly addictive. And I think everyone should cultivate the ability to be like that sometimes. But when someone is doing it compulsively, there are downsides. Because being stable and reliable and trustworthy often involves saying no to temptation, or being level-headed in a charged moment. And hedonists are terrible at that. When life is dull or boring or frustrating and there's a way out of those feelings, they'll take it. But the thing is, those feelings are a part of every marriage. When you talk to old couples, something they all say is that love and passion and happiness fade away and come back and fade away and come back. And that's a cycle that happens many times over decades. Everyone wants to have fun. And how much fun you're capable of having is always a function of how much you can turn off all the neuroticism and anxiety and like that little voice in your head and just lose yourself in an experience. If you want a marriage to last, you can't be with someone for whom fun is the priority. They need to have already accepted that life just sucks sometimes, and they need to be able to do the right thing even if it sucks.
Well, all right, let's give that lady a round of applause. She nailed it on the head. Good Lord. Whew. She nailed that one. I don't even think I need to put anybody else on the screen. That right there was fantastic. She nailed it. That was great. And she spoke about it from a marriage perspective, from husband and wife. So shout out to her. That was a phenomenal answer. All right, so now that's she spoke on a husband and wife or a marriage with a hedonist and a stoic. So we're going to look at a woman who's going to talk about being stoic. And let's see what she thinks about just the stoic and her response. So let's go ahead and pull this one up and let's let her take it away. Here we go. And this was 2 minutes long. I ain't finna let her talk the whole time. We can just give her a little bit of shine. So here we go.
Know what the trend is going to be in 2024? The newest trend? The newest trend in 2024 is going to be stoicism. Stoicism is going to be the hottest trend that everyone is going to start talking about, that everyone is going to be, there's not going to be no more glow up, this is how you glow up, da 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 da. No. Fuck all that glow up bullshit. Study stoicism. I'm going to put you on game and I'm going to be ahead of the mother.
Okay, I think let's see. Let me go ahead and refresh the screen.
Y'all want to know, stoicism is going to be the hottest trend that everyone is going to start talking about, that everyone is going to be, there's not going to be no more glow up, this is how you glow up, da 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 da. No. Fuck all that glow up bullshit. Study stoicism. I'm going to put you on game and I'm going to be ahead of the motherfucking curve. Stoicism is what you need to study. Do not study these, this is how you glow up, this is how you level up. None of that. It's a fucking gimmick. It's a TikTok, I'ma pull you in gimmick. The real deal Holyfield that's gonna build the foundation that you're seeking to have is stoicism. Okay? Remember that word. Stoicism. Because I'm gonna do a video on that. Let me know in the comments if you want me to break down the principles of stoic.
Okay, so she is completely wasting my time, but what it sounds like is she used to be an ex-hedonist and now she's sliding over to stoicism. And I guess she's excited about it or she's very passionate about it, but I'm curious as to what her version of stoicism might be because it sounds like she's an ex-hedonist and I guess hedonism isn't going her way, so now she has to pivot over to stoicism to figure out how to navigate through life through all of her hedonistic decisions that she's made. That's just my synopsis. That's what I'm coming up with the way that she's kind of approaching and how she's speaking. That's what it seems like. She didn't seem very level-headed. But let's go ahead and look at one more hedonist. We're gonna see how this lady speaks on hedonism, and then we're gonna go back to the video. So here we go. We got one more right here. And you know what? Let me go ahead and refresh her because she might. Here we go.
Ooh, you know what hedonism is?
I had no idea what it was when I went. No idea what it was.
Go ahead and Google that, big dog. I've been missing out. All right.
So, I went on my interview on the beach, on the side where you keep your clothes on, because there's a regular side.
It's called the nude and the prude. I know.
And and my agent kept telling me, "Yeah, you're going to hedonism." I'm like, "What is hedonism?" And I never looked it up. But when I got there. And then after my interview, me and the interviewer, we were about to go play pool. They had a pool table in the pool. So I'm like, let's go play pool. Walking towards it, and there's a couple on a bed outside in front of everybody, and he's getting his dick sucked.
Getting it.
And she's getting it too, like, I'm like, what? He was like, it's hedonism.
You like, I didn't know what, I thought you said Hilton.
I had no idea what it was. And he was like, it's hedonism. That's all everybody kept saying, it's hedonism.
Hey, that's pause.
You can have sex anywhere. They even have an area, a pool where you have to be completely nude, a beach area where you have to be completely nude. And they have like a jacuzzi where you can just have sex with anybody.
All right, so as we see, it's explained by a woman, and you got a couple of dudes sitting there speaking, and they can't kind of keep the little giggly giggles to themselves because they got probably erections in they draws, and you know they all giggly and all that nonsense. But you know, so kind of like you see right there. So you had the first lady who was level-headed, who spoke on hedonism and stoicism from both perspective of marriage. Then you had the other lady who was an ex-hedonist, and now she's stoic. She's all like, arr, arr, arr. Then you got that lady over there who like just dived into hedonism, and she, you know, clearly you can see how seductive and how much she likes it and everything like that. So, and basically kind of spoke on what this guy has been talking about, this AI has been talking about. So far we're on par with this one right here. and the first lady was on par with both of them. And so far, I'm getting from this, it sounds like, to me, it seems like the man should be the stoic, the woman should be the hedonist, but it needs to be like yin and yang. Because if you notice the yin and yang symbol, there's some of yin and yang, and there's some of yang and yin, if that makes any sense. So basically, it needs to be like 80-20 or 70-30. You know what I mean? You need to be like 70% stoic, 30% hedonist, and vice versa. 70% hedonist and 30% stoic to kind of balance it out, because that's what yin and yang is about. It's about balance. You can't be 100% anything. You got to be able to balance. You got to embrace your dark side too, because, you know, even though the stoic is level-headed, you know, the stoic has a dark side too, and he embraces it. And even though the hedonist is emotional and indulges in pleasure, it does have enough common sense to be able to understand, like, okay, I need to pull back. I'm enjoying this too much. I know I don't need to accept this temptation. But let's continue with this video and let's see what they have to say. So here we go, halfway through.
To want and still live wisely, and that's a noble aim. But Stoicism argues the wisest life is the one least dependent on desire. Not because we fear risk, but because we value inner freedom more. The hedonist finds meaning in fleeting moments. We find it in enduring values. A kiss is beautiful, yes, but integrity lasts longer. Joy shared is sweet, but character carried through hardship is sweeter still. Pleasure touches the surface. Virtue reshapes the soul. And yes, connection matters. But it deepens when it's chosen freely, not craved for identity. The Stoic doesn't retreat from life. We simply refuse to build our happiness on things we cannot keep. To master oneself, that is not rejection of life, but reverence for it.
Okay, all right, I get that.
You say virtue outlasts pleasure, but must we choose one over the other? The hedonist doesn't discard integrity. We just believe joy is part of wisdom, not a threat to it. What makes a kiss meaningful is who we are in that moment. Honest, vulnerable, present. That is character. That is value. Emotion isn't the enemy of ethics. It's often the birthplace of it. The Stoic fears dependence, but is needing joy weaker than denying it? Is it not more courageous to feel fully, risk heartbreak, and still love again? The hedonist doesn't float aimlessly. We anchor in experience, not because it lasts, but because it moves us. A life without pleasure isn't free, it's just quiet.
A life without pleasure isn't free, it's just quiet. Which I can get to a certain degree. Okay, so the hedonist has some really heavy hitting points, and to me, on both of their points, I would still go with what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I think it needs to be yin and yang, because you still need a piece of both. You can't just be all one. You have to have some of both. You know, maybe 50-50, maybe 70-30, maybe 80-20, but you need to be both. And as far as the characteristics go, I would say that the hedonist would be more of the feminine, and the stoic would be more of the masculine. That's just my opinion.
The Stoic doesn't deny love, laughter, or joy. We simply refuse to be owned by them. There's a quiet dignity in standing whole even when the music stops. Yes, emotion can birth ethics, but only when tempered. A heart without a helm can drift into ruin. Stoicism is that helm. It's what allows us to feel without flailing, to hope without grasping, to lose without falling apart. Hedonism sees surrender as bravery. We see steadiness as strength. In a world that spins fast and burns bright, the Stoic chooses stillness, not as escape, but as mastery. We live fully too, but we live freely, no craving, no clinging, no fear. In that, we find peace. And that, we believe, is the deepest pleasure of all.
This is what...
Okay, so I agree with that one wholeheartedly. We live free. No clingy, no cravings, no fear. And if I could find my thing to get this dude off the screen, there we go. No clinging, no cravings, no fear. I can agree with that. So I like that. I would agree with that. I would give him the whole, what is it? You know what I mean? You don't want to clap, you want to give him that. Or matter of fact, I give him a quick round of applause and we'll dive right back into it. So here we go. Hedonist responds.
Stillness has its place, but so does motion. A sunset isn't beautiful because it's eternal. It's beautiful because it passes. The hedonist embraces that truth. We don't fear the end, we savor the now. You speak of not being owned by joy. But isn't there a kind of freedom in giving yourself over to it, just for a moment? To feel joy deeply, knowing it will fade, and to choose it anyway? The Stoic seeks peace. We seek aliveness. And that, too, is noble. We don't reject control. We just believe a life too tightly gripped may miss the music, may miss the dance. A rich life is not one without struggle. It's one where struggle is met and felt with open arms.
Okay. I can kind of agree with that to what he said to an extent. I can actually jive with that. That one is a pretty good response. Let's continue.
The hedonist says to open your arms to struggle. We agree. But Stoicism goes further.
I was gonna say that. I was actually gonna say, he says open your arms to struggle. It's like, yeah, you agree, because as the Stoics has said, that you accept everything for what it is. So they have the same approach to it. I think they just view it differently. Let's continue.
It teaches how to transform struggle into strength. Not by denying it, not by drowning in it, but by seeing it as training. Every hardship becomes an opportunity to sharpen virtue. You speak of surrendering to beauty, to motion, to music. But what of noise? What of loss, boredom, betrayal? The Stoic learns to stand in all of it. Not just the golden hours, but the gray ones too. You fear that too much control dulls the spirit. But ask this. How much joy is lost not from discipline, but from chaos? How many lives spiral because pleasure was pursued without wisdom? Stillness is not stagnation, it's depth. Stoicism doesn't mute life, it gives it structure so the song can last, not just be loud.
Gives it structure, not Stoicism gives the music structure, not so it can last, not so it can just be loud. That was good. Okay, I can dig that. Let's see what the hedonist got. Let's see what we got.
Structure can support music, but too much, and it becomes silence. Hedonism doesn't reject wisdom. It insists wisdom includes feeling. Why must chaos be the opposite of clarity? Can't spontaneity be sacred too? Yes, pain teaches, but so does joy. A sudden laugh in the dark, a fleeting touch. These teach us we're not alone, that we're alive, that life is more than endurance, it's experience. You ask, what of noise, betrayal, boredom? We feel it. We don't flee from it, but we also don't believe the answer is suppression. Sometimes the cure for emptiness is not restraint, it's connection, creativity, even delight. We don't deny discipline, we just don't worship it. A life too tightly held may never feel the wind. Pleasure isn't the enemy of meaning, it's the moment when meaning meets the body.
Okay, I can see what it's saying. That makes sense. To a degree, I agree. To a extent, some of it I agree with. To the part where it was mentioning, what did he say at the beginning? I forgot what he was talking about. Forget it. Let's continue because we ain't got much time. I'm letting go for about a minute or two, then we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Wealthfront offers a cash account that has one of the highest interest rates on the
maybe
market.
that's us having to wrap it up. You know what I mean? I think that's gonna. Well, you know what? We got one more. We'll let them go on one more each, and then we're gonna wrap it up. So here we go.
Pleasure meeting the body can be profound, but it must not blind the mind. The Stoic does not say don't feel, but rather don't be fooled. Moments of joy are real, but they are not reliable guides. Meaning must outlast the mood. You speak of wind, freedom, spontaneity, delight. But even a kite needs a string. Without it, it doesn't soar, it vanishes. The Stoic string is virtue. It grounds us, shapes us, frees us from chasing every gust of feeling. And in that groundedness, we don't lose the sky, we gain perspective. Hedonism wants us to feel more. Stoicism wants us to be more. Not less passionate, but more principled. Not less joyful, but less dependent. To live well is not to seek more peaks, but to learn how to walk the valleys with your head high.
Yes, a kite needs a string, but cut too tight, and it never lifts. The Stoic fears dependence. We fear detachment. Because life isn't only about perspective, it's about presence. The hedonist doesn't chase every gust. We dance with the wind. We don't deny valleys. We just believe even valleys echo with music if we listen closely. You say Stoicism seeks to be more, so do we, but not by shrinking feeling, by embracing it. The tears, the laughter, the hunger, the thrill, they are part of being fully human. You ground in virtue, we ground in vividness, in contact, in the way a single night can stay with you for decades, not because it was perfect, but because it was felt deeply. We don't reject wisdom. We just insist that a wise life should also be a lived one.
All right, I agree. You know what? We'll let them finish. One each.
From self-mastery to sensation, from stillness to surrender. This debate has taken us through the very architecture of what...
Oh, okay, so that was the end of it. Okay, well then cool. Then that was actually the very end. I didn't know that was the end of it. But give him a round of applause for that one. That was good. That was really good. I'm going to agree with those guys on that one. That was good. I would have, me personally, I would lean more to the Stoicism, and the hedonist, I would apply 30 to 40% what he said to my life, probably 30% what he said to my life, but I would say that you need both of them. You can't just have one of them, you need both. And that's the purpose of yin and yang. When you look at the picture of yin and yang, you'll see yin and yang, and they have a dot in each one. Well, that dot is for, why is my thing humming? The dot basically explains that, you know, you have to have a balance of each one. So to be all one and not the other, or have components of the other in you, you want to enjoy some of the hedonism, but you also have to be stoic enough to understand that there's a balance, there's a limit to the temptation. You don't avoid it. You don't not enjoy it. You don't not enjoy the pleasures of things, or not something like that. You just understand it better. You have an understanding and an acceptance to it, and also a level head enough to understand that the indulgence of how much you take in is enough. There's a limit to what you can take, and you stay grounded on discipline and stability as you navigate through life. But with that being said, y'all, that's gonna be it for today's show, man. Thank you for everybody that tuned in today. I greatly appreciate y'all. We'll be back tomorrow for another show. With that being said, man, take care. I greatly appreciate y'all. We're gonna roll up out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We're gonna end this here with our little sexy Latina, but we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care. Love you. Peace.
Follow D. Elliott Fitness for the kind of workouts you'll never forget.
Then buy the dream. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. Don't wait no nigga and I'm in the booth, playing beats. The game on lock, and I got the keys like Jay. My fame won't stop, but the only The bitch on my dick, she got notes to sing. Bumblebee ass, y'all know it's thing. I plug your bitch like a 6-string. Jordan with the bitches got 6 rings. Smoke till my bitch a split screen. The press with pain pills and sipping lean. Riding dirty, but I'm extra clean. Lyrics nice, but I'm extra mean. All-star heavyweight like Overeem. The bitch learns like she Overeem. I flip money like Clover G. Gang hustle like T.I.P. All baby like D.I.G. Acronym like K.R.I.T. The game on lock, and I got the key like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the key like Jay-Z. Don't wake up nigga in Austin, Texas. In the booth, playing beats. The game on lock, and I got the key like Jay-Z. My fame won't stop, but the only thing I'm chasing. The game on lock, and I got the key like Jay-Z. Don't wake up nigga in Austin, Texas. In the booth, playing beats. In the beats like RP, no hard shit where your artery. Cutting up, who's sharp as me? Rolling up accordingly. Pulling hoes, no sorcery. Rapping like y'all forcing me. If I ain't right, then it's forgery. Nigga selling to the rock like a Flores beat. Lyrical monster on the Lord of Beats. Text nigga, my bitch Georgia Peach. Pimp tight nigga, I do more than cheat. Cold like D-Wade, I ignore the heat. Bitch, I'm away, hit the short for reach. Money jumping like a nigga on the sneeze. Come to James, get me on the beat. Bitch, I'm always winning like what's the beat? The game on lock, and I got the